Hello. That's my introduction for the day. Hey, it works. Cool. Am I coming through? What's up, everybody? How you doing? I didn't really have faith this was gonna work right off the bat, so here's to you, computers. You can kind of see my monitor a little bit there. Hold on. There we go. All right. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Welcome. It's a new week. It's Monday, baby. I'm back to a one PC stream for now. The old capture card is here. It's done. I've tested this thing to the nth degree. Ran it through a whole bunch of different stuff to try and get it working, but I've come to the conclusion that the capture card is going bad. So we've ordered another one, and it should be here tomorrow. So we should be back to normal streams. Black screen for anyone else. Should not be a black screen, no. The whole screen is black, or just the part that I'm in. That's racist. I'm kidding, that's not racist. Just a fact. Anyways, the build continues to find ways to break, but it's okay. We've got it covered. You guys have powered us through this, and I think we're gonna be okay. Gonna get the capture card back. We'll get back to gameplay on Wednesday. I'm either gonna jump into the PTU if that's still PTU is still going, or maybe if the game is live, I might start doing more zero to hero, roots to riches, I think we were calling it. More of that kind of starting from the beginning gameplay. I haven't published the first two of those. I need to get those published this week. But I think I might start that back up this week. I don't know. I need to get back into game. It's weird. I actually am missing playing because it's been, I think, at least 2 weeks now since I've gotten to jump in for real. Kind of got into the game, but not really. So besides that, I'm also looking to jump into Jump Ship this week. Hopefully we could play that a little bit. And I can actually record. What the heck? Why does that say 34? Hopefully I can actually record a little bit of that for you guys, because I did play some of that this weekend, but my capture card broke in the middle of it, and so that footage wasn't really useful. But I'm loving that so far. Anybody else been playing Jump Ship? I know everybody's been rather hooked on Dune Awakening. Hooked on Phonics, hooked on Dune Awakening. What are you doing? Wait, why are you shooting? Nobody said to shoot me. You're not allowed. Freaked me out. You're not allowed to shoot me if nobody said to shoot me. It's not fair. Out. That's not part of the deal. We did not agree to this. Something's wrong with that. Count. Let's see. There we go. She is Mrs. Tomato. She can do what she wants. You're not wrong about that. Roots to fruits. I kind of like that more, actually. Roots to fruits is pretty fun. That's good fun, because you're not a fruit as a root. You're not a fruit as a root. You're not a root as a fruit. And you got to grow from a root to be a fruit at some point. The fruits are obviously rooting to fruit brutally. Should being the optimal word of this day and age. Should. Could. Hopefully. Oh, sweet dear Jesus, we all wish and pray. Word of the century, yes. Welcome in, everybody. Sorry we missed Saturday. It's been all kinds of busyness, and honestly, with the capture card not working, I didn't feel like it was going to be worth putting you guys through another painful IT session. Since we're just chatting today, we can just use one PC. So we're back. And I see Space Marine and Maverick, AAK, Yui, PK, and Vast and all holding it down. And honestly, I think you guys got a freaking hype train started before I even went live. A shout out to Seneca and Star Spirit. Thank you both for Prime subbing up while we were offline. Appreciate you guys. And AAK gifting out 5 subs before we started. PK gifting out a sub to Mrs. T. Was she subless? A subless swine? How dare you? Are you not a supporter? You hate us? He's out there sulking in misery. Anonymous Gifter also gifted out 5 subs, though. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And somebody did the bits. I still don't understand why it says level 1. I'm not sure what that means. Thank you all for the hype train, though. And Bane, thanks for coming in with that tier 1 sub. You guys know how it is. Tier 1 subs help us not get our money taken by Twitch. Does it really matter, though? Amazon's going to get the money one way or another. You just read that if you cannot use socks as a flotation device. You read that you can't? Sir, don't let them define your reality. You make that happen. Scarlet! Good to see you. Mr. AAK. I saw you waiting for that beat. Dropping the beat like a fireman down a pole. Is that contextual? Or is it just weird? Could be both. Why not both? Abs, good to see you. Wolves Light, welcome in. Hello, 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 hello. Michael, Shifty, Azrin, PK. Moo Daddy, welcome in. Wolf. If you could just like open a document full of Twitch names and read down a list of them, and it would be like, what is it called when you hypnotize somebody or brainwash somebody, and then there's like a activation phrase of numbers or words? But there's a phrase, there's a set of words that you can say, and it like makes them flip. That was like the plot of Captain America: Winter Soldier. I was just thinking, what if that a trigger? You would just call it a trigger? Manchurian Candidate? Isn't that a movie? Yeah, what if those were just a bunch of Twitch names? Like Moo Daddy, Couch Merlin, Sweepanopolis, and Boat Nuts. And then the person's like, okay, I will listen. Sorry, it's been a long day. Bola! Good to see you in chat, my man. Bob, welcome in. Good afternoon, good morning, good day. Secondhand Wolf, Anna Sonata. A Wandering Mage. Yeah, trigger words. The phrase is War Bond upgrade. War Bond, punches above its weight, Carrick Killer, Star Citizen 1.0. Triggers. You don't even have to be associated with ships to be triggered by that one. All right, so today I had not a huge plan, to be honest. Last week was not only a little slow, but we've still been a bit busy getting settled in here. So today I was thinking we talk about the upcoming update in Star Citizen 4.2, because that's probably going live this week. I have no inside information, but pretty sure Jared said about 2 weeks ago that it was probably going live in 2 weeks. So I figured we can... I actually didn't realize I missed a patch watch. Completely missed a patch watch. It flew entirely under my radar. And I only just found this today. Because we were on a plane when this came out. Or at least we were packing to go on a plane. And then the next morning was 24 hours of travel for us. And then we had a bunch of events pop up when we got here. So it was... God, I'm coming through really loud. Hold on. Turn that down a bit. So I did not know this even came out. So I was thinking, since the whole patch is probably coming out, we can talk about this and also talk about the main things that are coming in and sort of summarize the whole update. And then I thought, why don't we? Yes. We're going to take a look at stealth gameplay. I actually did a little bit of digging and found a old reference, not old, like 2 years old. Not old enough that it's worth blowing off. Old enough that things might have changed a little bit, but new enough that I think we can get some information, because I know a lot of questions have come up about stealth because the Prowler has come into the game. So I figured, hey, maybe we could watch something about that, but I don't see that here. Oh, we're also going to take a look at spacecraft. How about there? We're also going to take a look at spacecraft. One of the space games we looked at the beginning of the year, they have put out some new gameplay, so thought we can check that out. Now, I have lost my link. I'm rather disappointed. I'm also confusing myself because there are two screens right next to each other that are two different computers, and it's kind of throwing me off. All right. Maybe it was here? Okay, so I guess I didn't actually open the video. If you watch my latest video that I released on the main channel like an hour ago or so, that will explain why I have this green screen thing. I realized I didn't even chroma key it out in the video though. Oh my god. I'm just now realizing that. I'm so dumb. All right. How am I going to find this video? Ooh. Same old, same old. You guys know how it's done. Good friend Starchives. Shout out to the creator. I betcha. Here we are. Vehicle gameplay. Richard Towler. This man's always having to answer the hard questions.
That reflects to the player. So there's this nice little pipeline there between features or the things that everybody
work?
Can.
Pause. Does this mouse not work suddenly? What is going on? I think this mouse is broken. So I'm trying to use it because I'm using the different PC. No, it's not broken. Why isn't it working? Guys, what is this? What is going on? Why is it not work on the video, but it works everywhere else? YouTube. What's your problem? Oh yeah, that works.
That would work on the feature of being able to swap out modules and whatever. Then the...
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Let's refresh
up
this.
to the content question. Oh, who was it? Somebody had it in the chat, and I wanted to shout them out because they had it. They had it right on there.
Oh, right click works.
But somebody was
sure.
talking about how, basically, for modularity as an example, there's the feature team that would work on the feature of being able to swap.
Bro, this is crazy. I hate tech. Tech hates me. We get along in that mutual hatred. Turn on your stream and first sentence you hear is, I'm rather disappointed. Well, Skippy, it's just another day in Star Citizen land. And that's not about Star Citizen at all. That's about us. I used to be cool. I let my fears drive me. What happened to me? I'm so disappointed in myself. All right, so I guess I'm gonna have to use keyboard tech E0 today to run the videos. But we are not going to start with that. We're going to start actually with the 4.2 patch watch. Let me pull that back up. And oh god. All right, I'll try. Hold on. I don't even think there's that many. Yeah, I don't even have that much open. Let's see. Oh my god. This wasn't even the tabs I wanted open. Oh, good lord. Chrome, why do you make this so hard? See, this is why I was going to be Arc browser, but now Arc's doing weird stuff. To be honest, I haven't gotten caught up on.
You can say.
There we go.
And then as a follow-up to the content question, oh, who was it?
Nope.
Somebody had it in the chat, and I want.
Still doesn't work. Whatever, man. I just assume I'm being live hacked at this point. Somebody's blocking my mouse clicks in the quantum verse. Let's try to find the patch watch again. No, it's somewhere. And then we're also going to pull up the roadmap. What's up, catch up? Rusty Pigeon. How you doing? Recommend Firefox? Love Firefox. I actually think I have Firefox on this PC. Okay. Woo. Friends, family, long lost animals reincarnated. Today we're talking about the new update coming to Star Citizen 4.2 and all the things included in it. This is going to be a deep dive. So sit back, relax, get a little bit of popcorn ready, maybe a tomato or two. Keep that tomato safe, precious with it. They're important. But we're going to get into the details of what's been going on, starting with the latest patch watch, which I completely missed a couple weeks ago. We were plane flying and stuff. So we'll start here with the Atlas, the Atlas. Starting in Alpha 4.2, you'll now be able to summon your Atlas power suits directly via freight elevators in any hangar. This is not new. I mean, for like most of you guys. But I have heard good things about this, and honestly, this is, I think, what Jared was referring to last month during, was it Con 42? I believe, when he said that there was something coming in 4.2 that would kind of make us all aware that they are still working on this stuff, and they're trying to get the whole vehicle spawning and elevators thing working. Can't come soon enough. Thank you very much. AAK, thank you for gifting out that sub. Appreciate you. Warrior Streak, welcome to the club. Throw a thanks over to AAK for that one. And check out the new exclusive videos now that you got the access. Previously, they said retrieving an Atlas required using the ship elevator and an ASOP terminal. With this update, you can bring it up independently, making it easier to manage your ship and power suit it separately. This adds flexibility and efficiency, especially during missions where having them on different hangars is a strategic advantage. You can now even secure your Atlas directly onto your ship's cargo grid for easy transport. This sounds, I believe this is a pretty fun thing to do on upside down cargo grids that hang from places. I haven't seen if anybody's gotten this into a Prowler utility yet, but I have seen them on a raft. Not sure if that's gonna remain, but that's pretty cool. And would be even cooler if you could somehow deactivate the cargo grid and let the Atlas drop off the back of the raft when you land. Hope it drops soon. You get tired of playing the live PU and getting teased with all the new toys and events. Well, I think it's this week, based on what we've been told, but that's a hit or miss. Depends on how they're doing on stability. The Mirai UI now has a new style. The Guardian and Guardian QI have received a visual upgrade with the integration of the new Mirai UI style, first introduced with the Guardian MX. Okay, they got that in pretty quick. This was actually, when they said that, when they said they were going to do that, I'm pretty sure I made a little bit of a fuss about that not getting the upgrade right then and there. Like 1 month later, fantastic. Good job, CIG. That's 1 month isn't bad. It would be great if it was at the same time, but honestly, I was worried that it was just gonna kind of slide away. as we see with some of the other ships that have gotten variants added to the game, haven't necessarily been brought up to the same standard. Glad they're doing it with the Guardians. This update brings a sleeker, more modern cockpit interface to these ships, unifying the Guardian line under a consistent high-tech design language that better reflects Mirai's brand vision. We are still working on the Pulse ground vehicles and their variants. I don't know why I made that noise. It's it's got that neon cyberpunk feel to it. Like I'm being strangled by an Asari. Neutralizing threats with Distortion. Distortion. In Alpha 4.2, missiles, bombs, and torpedoes will now explode when fully distorted. Huh. This means distortion-based weapons or fields like EMPs can trigger premature detonation mid-flight. With precise timing, you can disable enemy ordnance before it reaches its target, adding a new tactical layer to defense and counterplay. Huh? That's pretty fun. Slipping a little bit of E-War improvements in there. I like a slow improvement of a specific type of gameplay. E-War has a lot of potential to disrupt this game a lot and keep people safe and detained and oppressed, all without actually killing people, which could be useful. You know, if they do go the direction of making murder a very, very serious crime that gets you in a ton of trouble, it would be nice to still be able to disable ships and do things like that without having to go that far. So I'm always happy to see more E-War advancements, and triggering premature detonation of missiles is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Still want the Sentinel's EMP missiles? Well, we were fighting the Idris a couple weeks ago, and we really only took that Idris, or no, that was the Polaris. We really only took the Polaris down when we did because the Sentinel was there distorting it. I think distortion damage, I know it's always been a kind of thing that the more sweat having of Star Citizen players have talked about and depended on and made out to be a very powerful tool, but it's never really felt like CIG had a clear direction with it. Hopefully they do now, and they start making more and more additions to make it fit in a place in the game, because it could be really cool. And like I said, this could be a great way to deter people from killing you. Missile tuning and targeting improvements are also coming in 4.2, receiving a comprehensive update and tuning pass. This includes refining targeting mechanics, enhanced tracking behavior, and a broad rebalance across multiple aspects. Let's take a look at what's new. God, tuning and freaking missiles, turrets. We've gone through so many updates on them. I hope they can lock it in here. Distortion sounds OP, probably needs a nerf. Bro, with the war bond price of Distortion on the store, Distortion needs a few more weapons. Yeah, I agree. Weapons and mediums of usage. Like, it would be very cool to have a ship that could just put out, I guess, an EMP, more EMP pulse ships, or like ground defenses that fire out distortion rays, but like they don't even have to be like hit scan distortion beams, basically, you know? That would be a great base defense. It doesn't have to shut down a ship necessarily, but it could easily take its shields offline. All right, targeting system improvements we got. Following player feedback and internal investigation during the Alpha 4.1.1 and previous cycles, we've addressed several long-standing issues in missile targeting and refined some of the underlying systems, specifically lock quality mechanics. We streamlined the lock quality mechanics so that once you achieve a lock on a target, your missile immediately gains full tracking effectiveness. Minimum lock ranges adjustments. Most missile types now require a slightly increased minimum lock distance, typically between 1.7 and 2.0 kilometers, to ensure targets have a fair chance to deploy countermeasures. Torpedoes, on the other hand, have had their minimum lock distance slightly reduced to improve usability. Anvil Ballista's bespoke Hellion and Scimitar missiles have received specialized tuning to better serve their anti-air role. These now allow for much closer target locking and overall improved tracking capabilities against targets. Man, I'm terrible at reading today. What's going on? Okay, so basically they're just changing the ranges at which missiles can be engaged and the overall ability for you to hold the lock on a target. I always find that I'm not entirely sure when I've received a lock on a target for missiles whether or not I'm losing that lock or if it's just kind of like, I don't know, doing something weird. Because then I'm like, why am I losing the lock? I'm still looking right at this ship. The ship is in my, it's right there. It's looking at me, I'm looking at it. We're locked. Don't unlock me. Mr. Space Tomato Gaming, what's your hot take on the Prowler utility? I have no hot takes. I love the way it looks. I am interested in seeing what they do with it. My take is lukewarm at best. And best reserved for those who don't mind a microwaved dinner. Obituary's CZ Treasure Vault teases you with the size 6 Distortion scattergun. Imagine a shoulder-mounted Distortion gun that did damage to ships and vehicles. They also clarified the arming distance for torpedoes in the Star Citizen Live recently. It's not based on the distance traveled by the torp. It's based on the distance between you and the torp. Aye aye, Shifty. Countermeasure and tracking rebalance. Can we get a shout out for Execute, by the way? Good to see you in chat, my dude. Hope you're doing well. Countermeasure and tracking rebalance, missile and torpedo tracking capabilities, as well as countermeasure effectiveness, have been fully rebalanced around the updated ship emission values introduced with the resource network in 3.24.2. Notably, torpedoes now feature improved tracking performance over standard missiles, enhancing their reliability and impact during combat engagements. What is there a generally agreed upon difference between missiles and torpedoes? To be honest, I always just thought of torpedoes as usually larger and typically dumbfired. I have no idea what the difference is supposed to be, though. Speaking of man-portable distortion, you want training rounds or FPS distortion to knock out players for training missions in the verse. Stun rounds would be nice. Set to stun. Size? Is it typically size? Okay. Additional updates coming to torpedoes, missiles, stuff like that. Torpedo explosion safety distance has been changed. A new minimum arming safety distance of 1.5 kilometers has been introduced for all torpedoes. This is, as you said, the distance between you and the missile or the torpedo itself. This means torpedoes will no longer detonate until they've traveled at least 1.5 kilometers away from you, whether fired with a lock or in dumbfire mode. Explosion radius and damage falloff has seen a change too. Maximum explosion radius for both missiles and torpedoes have been reduced, whilst we further investigate internal components or stored vehicles being damaged too easily from external explosions. We've also introduced damage falloff over distance within the explosion radius for the same reasons. It's interesting. This implies that missiles won't do as much damage to things inside the ship, which is nice. You can still salvage some of that stuff, even if you go down due to missiles. Torpedoes are slow and typically for anti-structure or capital ships. Missiles are smaller and meant for anti-fighter. Okay, so that was pretty much what I was thinking. Health sanity pass has also been given. All missile and torpedo types have undergone a health normalization pass. Health values are now standardized by weapon size, with smaller missiles being less durable and torpedoes being the most resistant. We're also excited to hear your feedback as you test the new systems in 4.2 and onwards. Moving on from there, we've got some actor feature changes with radiation widgets. The radiation widgets in FPS gameplay have been updated to provide clearer and more actionable information. You'll now see improved readouts that better reflect your exposure levels, along with new animations that help you quickly understand how fast radiation is building up or dissipating. These changes make it easier to react in real time and manage survival in hazardous zones. I know you can't see it because my big old head's in the way. Let me move this here. This word, survival, this is probably going to make a lot of people happy and piss a lot of people off over the next couple of years. The survival mechanics are like pretty minor so far. It's just really water and hunger right now. But radiation, I think, is just the start. Just the start of people having to pay more attention to what's actually going on around them and what their player is or what their character is needing to do. What the heck is going on in the chat? Guys, what is Twitch? What you doing? 80 bits here. A combo has started. A combo of what? Twitch is so weird now. So you can see here, they've got the radiation statistics there, and actually we can go back and look at when they introduced this. CitizenCon 2954. That's too recent for us. So this is basically it right here.
That shield works in two ways. Right? First of all, it comes from your outfit, so depending on what you're wearing, you're going to have a better or less accurate shield, right? It has a threshold. As long as your radiation doesn't exceed the threshold, the shield will hold true. It'll scrub all the radiation off, and you can stay there as long as you like. But as the shield starts peeling off, when the radiation gets higher, the shield will peel off. And you know the radiation sickness kicks in right at the end of the video here, and my health just deteriorates.
So this is again just making boots and like specific armors and stuff more valuable, giving you the choice to take certain things. Certain armors are getting radiation, and I really got to change this to. This is awful. Take me to dark mode. Jeez, how do you even access dark mode? Why did they make this so hard? They just don't want us to have it, do they? Oh well. So there are certain armors that are getting radiation protection. Certain ships will probably have stronger radiation protection. So like when you go into a place like Pyro that has these solar pulses that we still don't have, I don't really know what's going on with those. You might have a ship that has the actual armor that's needed to keep that radiation shielding on. And this will go for weapon, or not weapons. This will go for core armor, leg armor, arm armor, armor, all the armors. And it's going to be part of what makes a difference with the equipment you take. And it's different from leveling up the skills of a character to get more radiation protection. So I like it that way. I like it better this way. And it's starting with this. I think one of the armors coming in this very patch is specifically radiation resistant. I believe they've also added some to the Morozov armors, or at least people said that it was getting it. The Morozov armors. And medical beds also are now removing radiation sickness. That's another survival element. Oxygen, mentioned by Vastin, is another one. Heat has been a problem in some situations now. What else is there going to be? Pooping. Can't survive unless you poop, you know? As long as they get suit lockers in relatively quickly, then managing environmental survival won't be too strenuous. That's what the video I made today is about. Check it out. Check it out at some point. It's a fun video. It's about really the problem we knew was going to happen with Star Citizen this year, which is like they're focusing a ton on content. And because features aren't really keeping up with that, we now notice the lack of the features that we need for said content. And it's becoming more and more obvious. And when is CIG going to be able to catch back up on features to make that work? My main example in that is the inventory system. All right. So that's just this last patch watch, but there is more coming in 4.2. First, I want to see, was there any other patch watches for 4.2? No? Okay. In that case, look at the most recent patch notes. Its radiation symbol is a perfect example of the Mandela effect. It's in game for more than a year. It hasn't really been easy to trigger though. You realize the potential issue that might complicate getting Nicks in anytime soon, unless they can get either dynamic out or get player count per shard. If they add Nicks, they will need to drastically lower how many players are in each server. Or they just add more servers for Nicks. I don't think they have a shard player count problem, right? Because they got up to like 1,000 players in a shard. I think it's the servers. They just don't want to use too many servers per shard. Abdi! Hello, dude. Can we shout out the guy, the man, the legend, Abdi? How's your day going, friend? How do you enter the giveaway? Go ahead and hit the link that pops up in the chat. All right. Next up, we got some patch notes. This is going to run us through kind of the stuff that's currently in testing. We'll use this to cross-check with the release view of the roadmap itself. All stuff they have planned. The release view of the roadmap, though, is a little misleading because this is not all the stuff that's coming out with 4.2.0. As you can see here, we got a 4.2x, a 4.2x. So more stuff will get added to this over time, just like it did with 4.1. To start us off, though, we're getting stability and bug fixes. Yay! From birthday party sound. Stormbreaker, all phases have been added in. We'll go over this in a second. We'll actually touch on that last here. Lazarus, freight elevators, Apex, Valakar, all of that is included in that segment. Dynamic rain is coming in 4.2. This is a feature edition. I just released a video about how feature editions aren't happening very much, but they are still sneaking some of these feature editions in. Both the radiation effect that are now more active in the environment, dynamic rain, the Atlas Geo with the jump jets, that was a new feature. So we are still seeing some stuff coming in. And the dynamic rain stuff we've seen is looking really good. We're not quite at the level that they showed at CitizenCon with this first iteration, but I do think that it won't take very long to get there. Give you guys a little reminder of that one.
I'm getting out of this suit now. Powering up, flying out. We'll need to switch to IFR. See you on the other side.
So it looks good. And it comes with lightning. As you know, sometimes rain does that. Good for rain. And that's coming in 4.2. Really, it's focused around this Stormbreaker location, the Lazarus location on Pyro 1. But you can also find it on some of the planets. And it will continue to spread throughout the verse. it's rain. Now they're adding it in. Now we need low clouds in our corp. We need this rain, and maybe some more neon lights. Lower gamma. There was a major problem with 1,000 players. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they say about the things they've done with server meshing. We have not gotten an update on that in several months. Maybe they've been able to raise the cap of how many people can be in a shard. Maybe they're doing stuff with dynamic server meshing. I personally have already put in my 2 cents about Nyx coming this year. I don't think it's going to happen. Mainly because I just don't think that they have the people to work on it right now. And we had rain on Microtech. I think it's always been snow on Microtech. It is a great upgrade, and I can't wait to see them tie the wind and dust storms into dynamic weather. Because you kind of you don't want to, it can't just be random wind blowing, right? You want to see a storm in the distance and know that you need to get out of there. You want to feel like weather is something you can reliably understand and predict, rather than something that just happens to you and changes your atmosphere. Like, it's cool a couple times when you're at an outpost and suddenly it gets really windy and you're like, oh, this caught me by surprise. But you'd rather know that that's actually going to come up, because sometimes it just sucks. It's not what you were planning on. You were about to host a cool event and the skies look sunny, and you start your event and suddenly it's really windy. Why you do this, Microtech? All right, radiation. We already went over that. New to this patch, the Volt Laser Prism Shotgun. We've actually talked quite a bit about the Volt weapons and a couple different weapons that they're including in 4.1, in 4.2, probably in 4.3. They're seemingly holding on to these Volt weapons over time and releasing them slowly, trickling them in. We saw a lot of these during this video. Here is the Quartz. That's the SMG we got in 4.1. Back here somewhere is the Parallax, I believe. There it is. Oh, this is the that Pyro SMG. They also dropped that in. There's the Parallax. They dropped that in. The P8. Okay. I just lost. Okay. Anyways, there's a P8 here. That one also got dropped in. I think that was in 4.0 we got that gun. And there are several other guns that you can find throughout this video. Here's the Space AK, the Pyro AK.
Video games, and that's how I ended up as a 3D artist.
Very laid-back guy, has a really good eye for stuff.
There it is, with a little bayonet on it. And then, of course, the Novia crossbow. So there's definitely some other stuff that's going to come in here. The Prism is a pretty cool shotgun. I haven't gotten to really use it much, so I don't have too much to say about it, but it looks really nice. And it has this really cool firing mechanism where it turns into kind of just a slug launcher. I don't know how much damage that does, but it looks pretty sick. And you can see the Prism here. But the Prism is not the only Volt gun we're going to get. We also have a Volt pistol. Actually made an appearance at CitizenCon last year. You can see that one here. This is not on 4.2, but it should be coming, I don't know, maybe 4.2.1 or something like that. Maybe 4.3. And then there's also the, really just like a sniper and an LMG and a few other guns. So, more stuff to come. We're just getting the shotgun this time. The Argo Atlas Icti Eo Icti Geo Icti Rad Icti Rad? What's the Icti Rad? Does it protect you from radiation? So the Argo Atlas is the basic. The ICTY is the basic with guns. The ICTY Geo is the basic with guns, jump jets, and a backpack, I guess, which is kind of crazy. And the ICTY is radical, dude. These are all of the mechs that we just talked about in the patch watch, and these are now, you can load them onto your freight elevator, which is nice. Thank you, Zerb. Thank you, my friend, for the sub. 49 months been out here. That's a long time, mate. 49 months is, what, 4 years? Jeez. Almost as long as my niece has been alive. That's... Thank you for supporting us this whole time. And thanks for being here, coming back to the stream, hanging out. Bunker missions with a tranquilizer gun. I'm just going to take that one and roll with it. Wolf slide. New Wicklow ship additions. I couldn't tell you what exactly those are. We did go over them. There's a lot of information out there, but I know that it added a couple different versions of various ships we've gotten recently, like the Zeus. New hairstyles showing up on the release view. You can see that here in 4.2.0. And the Sterling Exploration Chute. This is the one that has the radiation protection I was talking about. On top of that, we also have bug fixes. I won't go over all of these, but you can pick some out that sound a little interesting. The adult Valakar spawning in the air. Permanent ammo repool audio loop after spawning. Freaking, it's a terrible one. These are all known issues that are still in the PTU as of 3 days ago, so hopefully these will get fixed before the game goes live. Like, these should not even be in here. These aren't part of what comes in 4.2. We hope. Moving on, Stormbreaker and ASD location polish. Just looking at some of that stuff getting worked on. Marine polish, bug fixes, all that jazz. Let's switch over to the release view so we can actually see the features themselves. The Valakar. Both Apex and Adult Valakar in the irradiated format, as well as the Juvenile. Really just every single type of Valakar, but irradiated, as well as the Copion. Really the only technically new versions we have are the Adult and Apex Valakars, and you actually have to go to a specific place to find them. Just like with Hathor, this is going to end up with people not being able to see it for that first update or so, because it's such a nuisance to get there. But to be honest, it feels weird now to say there's going to be content you're not going to be able to see, because there's not much content in the game, so we all want to see everything. But there's absolutely going to be content that plenty of people never see in the future. This is one of those things. Flying out to Pyro 4, raiding an outpost, taking some stuff from a vault thing, flying from there all the way to Pyro 1, going down into a storm restricted area, getting into this other location and fighting your way to get this egg and then turn this, like, this whole process is not something most people are going to do. So I don't think it's a big deal to have stuff at these locations that you miss out on in the long term. But I do think that CIG needs to start adding this stuff to other parts of the game in the short term. And I don't mean they have to be irradiated. Like, let's just get the Adult and Apex Valakar, and even the Juvenile Valakar, around other places of Daymar. That would be good. Just have to wait a couple weeks, honestly. People get bored very quickly. I don't even think people are going to do it, though. That's what I mean. Like, this isn't a mainstream kind of activity in my mind. I guess it is for, if mainstream from the sense of most people want to shoot stuff. But at least starting out, I think most people aren't really going to care to go into Pyro for some narrative quest. I think this is going to be a later game kind of thing once we reach Star Citizen 1.0. Hathor? Yeah. Most people will try Hathor, I imagine, or at least happen upon the location. But this is a little different being in Pyro. Anyways, moving on, we got that Sterling Exploration Suit that we saw before. This is a heavy utility suit built to withstand extreme radiation. This will probably be useful in more places than we have right now. Let's be honest. It's space. There's a lot of radiation out there. New hairstyles. Old man with receding hairline. Young woman working at, I don't know, boutique hair salon. Old woman working at the post office. And student. Those are my names for those hairstyles. Coming in 4.2.0. Medium utility armor is coming in 4.2x. We don't have to worry about that. Dynamic rain we've covered. Radiation we've covered. All right. Now the locations for Stormbreaker. See, this is why I think this is part of... This is going to make 4.2 feel less interesting than 4.1. 4.1 still had the mining stuff going on. The location was fairly easy to get to. I do think that I have at least underestimated the, I don't want to say backlash, but just the general disappointment that a lot of players have in that they can't experience what makes up almost the entirety of 4.2.0. I want to say 4.1.0 had more going on, but I might be wrong about that actually. Either way, the main part of this update is the Stormbreaker series of activities they have going on. We've already done a video about this. We've already looked at this. We'll just jump around and kind of check out what they have to say about this whole location. We'll watch the first bit of it and then we'll skip to the second part, which is where all the irradiated stuff is. Check it out.
Frickin' Star Citizen actually requires you to go out and build locations that players want to visit. That's what we're doing now.
We were trying to push our FPS combat existing in-game and actually get players to feel like they're actually fighting for something.
Stormbreaker is different because you don't go into your contract manager to look for what to do. You just go off, fly down to a planet, and you start exploring.
We wanted to lead players from place to...
They say these... Why is it now working when I click? Whatever. They say these little things that I think we don't focus on as much, but that whole idea of, oh yeah, we made it so you don't have to use the mobi-glass is probably a bigger deal than we think. I think that might be a pretty significant way that they want us to take on missions, and this is the first of many that we'll see doing that. I also probably hope that more than I think, but they talked about it at CitizenCon, and I do think that they're using a lot of these content drops to test not just the content itself in the format, but also the way they're delivering it.
Place and make them question what they're seeing.
So I want to be clear here. Stormbreaker isn't an event, and it's not a mission. It is a sandbox activity. It will be persistent, it will keep happening. Every single patch you can come back and you can run this over and over and over again, just like you can the Align and Mine sandbox activity.
It's not an event.
This is a continuation of the Regen Crisis storyline.
Hey, I was... Hold on a second. I'm pretty sure I made a video about that. This one. This was all about that, how it kept getting called an event by CIG, which was wildly misleading because then people thought that it was just going to go away at some point. Say what you will about whether and whatever it might be called. They do need to make sure to specify to people that this is not a line, this is not, what was it called? Supply or Die, not Xenothreat, not Jumptown. It is Ghost Hollow. It is Security Post Korea, and it's not going away, and you don't necessarily have to take a mission to get it. Where are your Ruto missions? Hey, I agree with the calls to get more of the old stuff back up to date so people can use it. Agreed on that. Siege of Orison. Ah, gross. No, not gross. I liked Siege of Orison. I just didn't like what the performance did to me when I played it. Let's continue, though, on this one.
In 4.1, we saw how Rayari was trying to tackle the regen crisis.
In 4.2, we're starting to see what ASD, a faction called Associated Science and Development, is doing to address the regen crisis.
ASD is probably best publicly known for their weapons research division, which is releasing the things that TAD.
We'll start with these data facilities that you will find on Pyro 4.
This is where ASD is storing a lot of their data. So you'll find a bunch of servers, and this is actively being guarded by security forces, which means you gotta land your ship somewhere where it's safe and then make your way down on foot.
ASD does not want you there. They will be quite upset that you're trespassing.
So if you want to explore the facility, you'll have to fight your way in. You'll find...
Using the word explore is just... like, there's no reason to use it. It's just triggering people.
quite a few places in the facility that aren't that easy to get
It's literally just triggering people.
As you explore as a player, you will encounter a new type of door access, the Lotus Scanner. You will need to kill the enemies in the area to try to pass as one of them wearing their outfit. It is just a simple door, but with this new mechanic, you can feel like Indiana dressing as the enemies and go inside the enemy lines.
Access granted.
As you explore deeper into the facility, if you pay attention to your environment, you'll notice a number of different places and rooms that require a bit of extra effort to get into.
There will be unique loot, and the more of the facility guards you relieve of the ability to go home and say goodnight to their children, you will slowly find the first piece of the puzzle that you'll need to finish this entire loop.
They don't deserve children. All right, so the next part is you fly all the way to Pyro 1, and you infiltrate a different facility.
When you get off the shuttle, everything's gonna try to kill you.
You'll be immediately assaulted by loads of security guards outside.
It is very dark. The visibility is very low.
You'll start being affected by the radiation damage from the storm. If you do manage to get a radiation suit, you'll still find irradiated wildlife for you to contend with.
So...
Girl, he just spit from his throat. Look at that throat up, Chuck. Ugh.
So, just watch your back, watch your friend's back.
Your objective is to get inside as quickly as possible into the relative safety of the research base.
Once you're inside this facility, that's where Stormbreaker really begins.
All that stuff that you've done to get there, that was purely the beginning. It's the intro scene in the movie. You've not even hit the movie yet.
Inside, you'll find danger, mystery, great loot,
death, action, cruelty.
Audio logs, finally an alternative to reading.
Hello. Here we go.
New ways to open doors, which doesn't seem exciting, but we really are excited about it.
I'm really excited to see you playing with this new mechanic.
You're gonna find irradiated things.
Eggs, babies, screaming.
You're gonna find eggs and babies. Or specifically, these are Valacar babies, everybody. We're not getting that dark yet.
They might all be connected.
The horrors of science run amok.
You can find new battle vehicles that can only be earned in game. I said choo-choo as well. This isn't a fucking train. It's got massive weapons.
No, you just can't. You're just like... It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Got the arms going up and down, shooting all over the place. So this was a look at the overall the activity that's coming with 4.2 as well. And I don't. It's not. They're really treading a thin line between stuff to do to keep players involved and engaged in the game right now and stuff that is going to matter long term. You can tell, though, that this age of making these sandbox activities as opposed to global events is a lot more about stuff that they know can stick around in the game and they're not going to have to redo the work of. Sounds like they're still doing global events, and more power to them for that, because global events are pretty fun, but they are definitely mixing it up with some of this other stuff now. But that's the main part of 4.2. As far as the update goes, I mean, feature-wise, we're still waiting for something to really capture us this year. I still haven't done the local maintenance missions, but those aren't in Stanton yet. I think they need to get some new updates on the Stanton outpost system so that we can get local site maintenance, we can get more NPCs moving around in that system, and we can start to see more activity. That's about it, though, as far as the 4.2 overview, unless I'm forgetting anything else, which I might be. We'll touch back on this after the patch goes live for a little review. For players like you, you've been sitting on your hands since Siege of Orison. This helped give you something to do. The new activities. We didn't have to go and discover where these locations are. They told us. Well, I mean, they told 111,000 of us. Most of those people probably didn't get past a minute into the video. But like, remember, the stuff isn't being made for us. If they made Star Citizen for us, for the people who are paying attention to everything all the time, this game would be super freaking boring because we know everything. They'd have to try too hard. Need some non-pew-pew based content. Everything is shooting. To be honest, I still haven't gotten my full I haven't gotten to have like yet even another segment in the Atlas doing the mining. I know that's a small part, but it is at least a nice little bit of non-shooting stuff that we've gotten recently. I just wish that minerals meant more. I could like care about mining more of them, or we could have more cave-based gameplay. Be cool is with med gameplay, you have to go to Stormbreaker to heal or figure out a radiation cure. You got to go out there and stab a bunch of irradiated copions with med pens. Hello, Jax. Good to see you. You believe most people who are playing now might not play anymore in 3 years? They're making the game for the future players of this game. We just get to be a part of the journey. A lot of people might not be playing. I know plenty of people from 4 years ago aren't playing still. A lot of people will probably come back for 1.0, but it's definitely good to keep in mind that this was something that I said when the Mercury Star Runner came out, and people were like, what's the point of making secret tunnels in the bottom of that ship and then telling us about it in around the verse? Well, I mean, millions of people have seen this game since then who don't know anything about it. Also NPCs. Remember when distro centers were supposed to unlock all sorts of gameplay? Ah, distribution centers. Distribution centers. The underground part of distribution centers was going to be so cool. I like Orison. If they keep to the plan laid out in 1.0, you think most of us will play it? Are they scrapped? No, they're not scrapped. I mean, I don't know what the heck the plan is with them, but I doubt that they're not going to use them. They're good assets. And they're still necessary for the economic models that they've come up with. Mission models, like, they make a lot of sense to be in the game. I just think that they created that location with the expectation that they were going to use it, and then had to kind of recalibrate what they were doing location-wise. The distribution centers got mixed up during the Turbulent acquisition, I believe. So the plans for them were probably in the flux when that happened. And everything's been crazy since then because it's just been a mad dash to server meshing and now trying to stabilize after server meshing. So I think those are the kinds of locations we might hear about in a year or two. Maybe next year, they start to talk a little bit more about using those locations for missions. They could incorporate those into the building interior system. Or they just scrap them and say that was all a waste. As of right now, though, we don't know. Some abandoned outposts or asteroid bases with 5 to 10 rooms to explore, like a CZ, might be nice, just tons of random stuff spread out around. Less 4 big main story spots and more 50 new little things to go out and explore. Anybody been trying to do the asteroid bases in Pyro? I know they're like really small, so you don't get much out of them, but do those give you like a little package of PvE content? So I know the bunker missions in Stanton generally are worth trying for not necessarily non-pew-pew, but just non-player stuff. Like, it doesn't attract a lot of players to them. They're all the same. Could definitely use some diversity. Nice for a while, but after like 10 missions, you've seen it all. I wonder when that won't be a problem for Star Citizen. Have you considered applying to work for CIG for the video content position, creating the patch trailers and such? I would never work for CIG. Not because I don't think it would be a fun time. I just don't really want to be tied to a company like that, especially a company that I'm interested in covering and all that kind of stuff. Like, as much as people will accuse us of getting paid by CIG, I would genuinely hate for like, I don't know, I would hate for our outlook to be so closely tied to the game. And I know, obviously, as somebody who covers the content majority of the time, that is the case. But we are in the kind of position where if I want to cover another game tomorrow, I can. And we've worked a long time to be able to do that. Best thing about them might be the player ships outside for salvage. The asteroid facilities. Action salvage. Okay, I didn't realize that the player ships. How much do player ships persist? Are they disappearing fairly quickly? Does it depend on the location right now? You'd love to work for CIG, but you prefer to keep this game as your hobby and not your life. Too long? You've seen the same Avenger outside the same bunker for days. Is that too long, though? I mean, that's pretty cool. I hope that they can keep that. I would love to be able to find a crashed shipwreck of a player from 2 weeks ago and find the loot that they had on board. That's freaking sick. That was like the whole point, you know? Trying to grind senior contractor rep for Crusader at the moment is getting very monotonous, as you don't even have distribution centers to break up gameplay. Yeah, it would be nice to go to a distribution center, complete a mission, and then do something else at the distro center, since they're, you know, supposed to be a center of all gameplay. They have such cool ideas for them too. I really, really hope that they follow through on it. I understand that the scope of what they wanted to do with distribution centers originally might be too much for what they want to do with the game now. But damn, if they could just like split up your locations. Depots, outposts, caves, cities, distribution centers, derelicts, space stations, and player bases. You say those are our different types of locations. Now we take those and we match them to the missions and the tasks and the activities that make sense for them. I'm sure that's what they're doing. But I feel like we just have constant mind-numbing anxiety about, like, is that actually going to happen? We see all this great stuff going on. Would really love to see it come together for something like that. And they've said that kind of stuff in the past, but then they'll say stuff like, oh, well, things change. And we just don't know if the stuff is going to be like the stuff from the past. And I'm happy to cover that for you guys. I still love it. I love going back and looking at all the different stuff that's been said. I just feel like it needs a gigantic caveat with it now that they can basically say that they're going to change whatever it is that we're talking about. Here we go. I think this was the thing. Nope. 1,000 bunkers for max rank rep according to Reddit posts. Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. Whoa! Penguins! Oh, my friend. Thank you for the Toes gang. That is... Dude, we really need to get a whiteboard in here. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining the Toes gang today and gifting out 10 freaking subs to the group. Appreciate you. Have a good one at work. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for hanging out on the stream. Folks, if you just got a sub from him, make sure to say thanks. He's a good penguin. Really sounds like they need some sort of salvaging mission similar to how the police will call tow trucks to pull vehicles off the side of the road. Yes. Yes, what we need are vehicle retrieval missions for all the people who have enough tractor beams or an SRV to go and tow ships back to a location and get paid. And then once they leave that ship in that location, we need the game to create salvage missions to send out salvagers to go do it. This game has all of the tools and systems that it needs to get the game functioning in its players. We're like the freaking voltage just sitting around dormant in the wire that is Star Citizen, waiting to be activated and actually make something happen. And they're just not applying the current. I mean, they're kind of applying the current. But everyone's chomping at the bit to just do the job that they want to do and have it actually improve the game, the world, the space, the verse. Where was that video I was looking for? Here we go. The moment med beacons are functional and people use them again, it'll take many days of entertainment. The moment that we can rate them too. Just want them to finish Squadron 42 so they can go crazy with the PU. Bro, seriously. God, I want them to finish that game so badly, man. Oh. The freaking fun. I know it's kind of dumb to say something like the final stretch for anything related to this project, but it feels like we're on the final stretch. There's some form of playable game, we know that much. Imagine towing a ship to the middle of nowhere, going off to get your salvage ship, and then coming back to see someone got a contract to salvage it. Well, be very careful where you tow it to. Squadron 42 part 1 of 3. Dude, the part 2 and 3, like, we can all be hopeful, but I feel like for them to safely feel confident in making a sequel to this game, it's got to be a bit of a financial anomaly. Like, they're going to have to really hit success to justify making a Squadron 42 Chapter 2. I know it's written. I know they got engine stuff and everything together, but I don't know. It's a big game. And I can't help but think, this sounds terrible. As somebody who is super into Star Citizen and really wants to focus on Star Citizen itself, I just can't help but think, man, you guys have spent 12 plus years building up this game engine. Are you really going to use it to just make gigantic single player narrative games, or are you going to try and continue to make more games that like really stress the tech you made? That's not to say you can't make a single player game or a cinematic game or a narrative game. I just look at all the stuff that they're building into this engine to make Star Citizen run. Is there not maybe the opportunity to do more with that? I don't know. Squadron 42 is just so much. It takes so much, but maybe a part 2 and part 3 won't take nearly as much. I'm just rambling right now. Don't take anything I just said seriously. Seems like they're pushing a lot of stuff they talked about during CitizenCon 7 to 8 months ago. They're certainly pushing towards, like, all of the stuff that they're delivering is slanted in 1.0 direction. That's a really clear difference from everything that they've done prior to this. Is like, CIG never seemed to have a clear and unanimous single goal that they were shooting for. But ever since CitizenCon last year, all of the stuff that they're doing does really feel slanted towards Star Citizen 1.0. For better or worse, I think that's good for them. The delay for part 1 is the tech. Maybe. I like to think it's the tech. But like, it's the features, right? Will there be new features in part 2? Will they just be the ones from Star Citizen? It's a lot of mystery involved there. I can't claim to know or even have an inkling of a clue how it's all going to go. Certainly an interesting thought experiment, though. I think the release of Squadron 42 is going to be one of the most interesting game releases ever to watch. At least for us. Because we care. Offenders of murdering other players have to do a character reset. What? And keep their crime stat too? Oh, just commented on a video of yours, but being that you're live, I have a question. When the permadeath thing kind of comes in, what do you think about the flip side as far as murdered and such? Should repeat offenders of murder... I see. I actually, Michael, I think that they need to make murder a really, really, really bad thing to do in this game. I'm thinking maybe just of players. I don't know how you could even specify that. But all-out murder, like, you should be able to down people, disable people pretty easily and have them marked out of the conflict. All-around murder, though, cycling them, sending them back to a hospital, that should be like a crime stat 4 immediate kind of thing, like a big bounty on your head sort of thing, you know? Because they need to make it so that we're trying to maybe rip people off and screw people over, attack people, disable them, steal from their ship. But you want to stop people before they go that extra length of, I mean, I already boarded the ship. They're here and they've got nothing on them. It could be fun, and you shoot them in the head. There's got to be some deterrent to, like, keep people from wanting to do that, but still wanting to be the evil asshole. What does success look like for Squadron 42? That's a hard one. Let's type that. Let's look that up. Let's say oh boy. Well, first let's look up Wing Commander sales. Pretty sure that sold like a few million. Wing Commander. Number of copies sold. Wing Commander CIC. Whoa, this is a post from 2004. Holy crap. Literally 20 years ago, these people were talking on forums. Can you believe it? They had computers 20 years ago. Wing Commander. How'd it do? Ports and re-release, legacy, reception. By February 1995, Wing Commander sold 290,000. So it's probably sold just a freaking absolute ton more than that at this point. I don't know how we get the exact numbers though. Hold on a second. How many sales? The Wing Commander. Oh my god, it's so hard to type on this keyboard. Yeah, I'm taking into account the fact that PC games were small back then. We're gonna get there. All right, so 290,000 by 95. We already know that. Franchise overview: 400 million in global retail. Numbers in total, yeah. So they don't really tell us the overall breakout of the first game. But like, okay, 300,000 sales, sure. Now let's look up gaming industry expansion. I think there's a really good graphic for this. So then we can look at what PC gaming looked like back in 95 when they made that many sales. Here it is. Actually a pretty solid portion of the industry at the time, but still not nearly as big as some of these other segments. You can see as time has gone on, PC gaming has definitely gotten bigger. It has expanded to a $40 billion industry compared to freaking mobile at 85 billion. But in total, it's grown quite a bit. And I don't think I'm the only person who thinks that Squadron 42 is at some point going to end up on consoles. So it's good to keep that in mind as well. Considering the industry itself is like just so much bigger than it was when Wing Commander came out. What is a typical sales figure for a PC AAA game? Sorry, this is a Turkish keyboard, so the letters are a little bit different from what I'm used to. What good is Google's little AI thing if it can't answer questions like this for me? 10 million units sold is the new benchmark for success in the AAA via Jeff Grubb. Big games need to get as close to 10 million units sold as possible, and that is easier to do with a license. Bro, this game will not. I really highly doubt that Squadron 42 will reach 10 million. But that's for like the biggest games in the industry. I don't know what success would look like. 2 million sales? 2 million copies moved on PC alone? Sounds like a big game. Who's Jeff Grubb? He's a pretty big insider in the industry. He tends to get good information on games that are coming out soon. That was a fun rabbit hole to really get us nowhere. Here we go, though. Like, you can look at what's coming out and shipping these kinds of numbers. I mean, freaking Civ 4, 3 million. Detroit Become Human, 2.5 million. Battlefield, 1942. Horizon Zero Dawn. All of these are in the millions. This is what Squadron 42 would have to do to break that. I would say $1 million in sales for Squadron 42 would be a good start. These aren't even freaking sales, dude. These are copies. These are copies sold. You'll eat your hat if it does 10 million, bro. We're gonna be eating great if it does 10 million. Can you imagine the amount of funding that comes to Star Citizen if this game can move 10 million copies? Oh my god. Black Myth Wukong did 25 million. Yeah, dude, that is a different, in my opinion, that is a completely different planet of game relevancy. Not only is Black Myth Wukong a fantasy action adventure game, it is a fantasy action adventure game whose main audience was China. That's an insane release. Any of these really are insane. I mean, these are the most popular games in history. Minecraft is over 300 million copies. So what is this? Why are they off here? Oh, this is 2019 number. That's old. Are we counting copies of Squadron already bought? Yeah. Yeah, I think that would count in the overall sales. I think more people will buy Squadron after now than have before now. Be honest, I don't think as many people have bought Squadron as we would think. At least not as many as would after seeing what it actually is going to look like when it releases. Because a ton of people are going to be playing Star Citizen that have no interest in Squadron 42, but then will look at Squadron 42 and be like, oh, that's a polished version of what I'm doing. I'll check that out. Yeah, you haven't been able to buy it for the last 2 years. I mean, we're looking at, we go back to their website. Dude, this chair really hurts my back. Shout out to Monster Tech. Y'all got a comfy chair. Where was I going? Oh, backer numbers. Funding tracker. Let's see how many backers there are, how many accounts there are. Star Citizens, we got 5.7 million. I bet not even half of these have bought Squadron 42. Go to the CCU game real quick. Look at pledges. Citizens. All right. Is there a historic view of this? Income view, sales view. Yeah, I want to see like a total citizens number over time. All right, that's not really going to work, it looks like. So we'll have to do some math here. Gross. Sick. But I think this is a pretty interesting metric to find. Calculator. All right. Number of backers. We've got, looks like 104,000 here. 104,300 plus 247, 434 plus 355, 462 plus 432, 900 plus 564, 952, 251, 264. 257, 260, and 271, 770. Okay. The people who joined this project before before 2020 was 2.48 million people. Now we already know because we know the whole number. That's less than half. Let's now count the people who have joined since 2020. That'd be 446, 274, 524, 161, 871, 922, 676, 736, 485, 547, and so far this year 251, 209. Now, obviously, hold up, I did something wrong here. Let's start that over. That is way too high. Obviously, this includes the fact that they've done a lot more referral bonuses in these later years, so there's a little bit of a discrepancy to keep in mind. 161, 871, 922, 676, 736. Oops. 485, 547, 251, 209. No, okay, I wasn't wrong. So yeah, 3.25 million subscribers since 2020 to now. So a whole million more subscribers almost than joined before that period. And let's be real, guys. How much was Squadron 42 included in sort of the hype in the later years versus the early years? When did Squadron 42 get removed from the Star Citizen add-on? You know, when you could do it for like 15 bucks? When did that change? 2020? 2019? All the game packages that are more than 1,000 come with Squadron 42, except the most expensive one. 2-ish years ago? 21? Okay, so they completely took it out of sale. But was it still included in the Star Citizen? It was still a add-on that you could do? These numbers don't seem right. You backed in 2017, and your number is lower than 2 million. These are account numbers. So this, I don't think this includes necessarily people. I think actually this includes people who didn't actually pledge. They just made an account. So all of the numbers that we're talking about are going to be vastly lower than what has already, you know, what we're looking at. But case in point, like I said, I don't think half of this number of people own Squadron 42. Because look at how many people have joined since just 2020. And nobody, very few people, I think, had confidence that Squadron 42 is going to be a good game in 2020 when basically the beta or alpha, whatever they had planned for it, had been canceled. It had been delayed countless times. They were stopping the marketing for it for a little while. I think they've got a lot of potential sales with this game. A freaking ton. And the more that they casualize the flight model for Squadron, and I do think that they have the ability to do that for Squadron without touching Star Citizen. The more they can do that, the more they can get this onto console, the more they can get Mark Hamill and Gary Oldman and Henry Cavill and Jonathan Bailey and Sophie Wu and Mark Strong and I bet Alan Tudyk is in here somewhere doing a voice. Let's be real. Like, the more they can get those people to pile on the marketing, this game could blow the hell up if it's a good game. And it's all a big if. You don't own 42, you figured you'd pay full price to support the game when it actually releases. Oh, that's kind. Respond guard, you don't own it yet? It was an option when you started it in 2022. Okay. So they probably took it away when they took it off the store in 2022. Nicolas Cage surprise cameo. We're gonna steal the Declaration of Independence for the UEE. And then we're gonna take it to Vandal Space. We were gonna talk about underground facilities.
So dominant features that we're seeing here is a kind of a key spire. This is instantly where your player, you should be able to navigate towards. This could be like a corporate wing or an executive landing pad on the top.
Yo, this chair is bad news. This is... Who made this? I think this is HP. Why did I get a chair from HP? Oh, that's right, because you can't get any chairs here. Yeah, they don't put their name on it. They just put their logo. Omen. It is HP. This is awful, dude. Stick to computers, guys. I know they didn't actually make the chair. They just threw their branding on it. Whoever you're choosing for your provider, choose somebody else. Or maybe I'm old. I don't know. This is... I sat in that Monster Tech chair for like 7 months straight, and I did not have any problems. As soon as we get back here. Toes. Oh, man.
Moving down, it's very important to be able to get the landing pads or the landing hangars
quite
close to the facility.
Honestly, I'm gonna let you guys listen to this a little bit, and then we're gonna come back and talk about it. I just need to walk because this is painful. I'm sorry, I missed a stub from Mr. Brigadier. 19 months, Brigadier, been here. Also, been running the good old events. Appreciate you, my dude. Thanks for supporting the stream. Also, thank you for making GII a better place. And Smev, you should check out Corsair's chairs. Mine is super comfortable. If they ship them to Turkey, maybe we will. Maybe we will. I will be right back. You guys enjoy this. I got my poor freaking back. Oh my God.
Because we wanted that experience as the player lands. They're not far off from the location. They're actually quite close, and you should be able to see a little FPS area where the player lands. Also, what we're seeing here is some visual justification at what might actually be going on. So you're seeing, processing and tanks and supplies actually on the landscape there. Now, what I was saying before about it being a kind of a much braver visual presence on a landscape. So we designed the silhouette primarily, so you'd be able to recognize these as a location to aim for. Also, what we're seeing here is we thought it'd be cool to actually have surface entrances as well. So we're actually thinking about primary, secondary, and tertiary ways for the player to get into these locations, depending on the mission scenario. So like I said before, you've got like executive pads at the top, you've got the main hangars in the middle, and surface entrances down there below. Now moving on to the inside, so after the players landed through the hangars, they'll be brought up into the main corporate reception. Now these are going to be quite interesting because we'll be able to rebrand these depending on the manufacturer or the location. That's where we'll get a lot of the variety. But this is the corporate presence before the player would go down into the bowels of the facility. And what we're seeing here is, just an example of what a bearing reception could feel like. Now moving into Zone 2, with it being an underground facility, the physical act of going underground, that's cool, right? So we wanted Zone 2 to be about the logistics of the player going up and down and how we can make that cool visually, but also interesting from a player experience. So this is the transit, the elevator network. So we played around with a few different ideas into this, and one of the things that we thought could be quite interesting is the elevator itself could be a mini play space. So what we're looking at here is control room idea quite early, what sort of scale vehicles there could be. Now ultimately we didn't go with this idea. It didn't really fit the art style that we wanted, but it had some pretty interesting ideas. So what we landed on here is something that we felt quite comfortable with internally. Now it's worth noting we're designing these as an archetype first in a utilitarian art style. In the future, we'll expand out and do other art style variants. So what we're seeing here is the control room overlooking the main warehouse floor, and then this elevator should be big and clear enough for the player to understand like that's where logistics will go up and down. And for the elevator itself, we wanted it to be its own play space. So on the top level, that's where containers will be shipped up and down. But maybe underneath it, there could be little nooks and crannies. If we wanted to stealth into the location, we'd be able to give opportunities for the player there. And down below, this is what the player would kind of see. So now they're really starting to get into the bowels of the facility. So echoing of that control room down below, but also this is where we'll present the player with an opportunity to choose the area they want to go. Maybe cargo's to the left, maybe processing to the right, or maybe technicals up above. Part of that process of how we design is we look at things about from the player's point of view. So what we're seeing here is pretty good indication about how the player would exfiltrate from the location. So a lot of the lines are leading towards the elevator because we want navigation to be as intuitive as possible. Moving on to zone 3, so this is the bowels of the facility. So these are going to be spaces that we've never really explored before. A lot of the locations in the game tend to be quite residential, but here we're going for something completely industrial. As a player, you want to feel like...
Okay, I'm gonna jump in here now. This is the part that we don't have, right? You guys recognized all this stuff. This is the actual facility that we have, and while it doesn't look exactly like this is what they were going for. So it was kind of like a 1-2 almost situation where they were going to do this top portion and then also do the bottom portion. At this point in time, they were calling them underground facilities, and that's it. These were the advancements of the bunkers. They actually explain it here.
Underground facilities. Now the problem was we made these originally for the CitizenCon presentation demo, and the time we had wasn't enough to kind of take the location where we wanted it to be. Now, it kind of fits the current purpose. It's fairly small in scale. It gives a multi-room layout opportunity for FPS combat, but we always knew we wanted it to be able to scale, you know, small, medium, large, to accommodate maybe 60 minutes of gameplay time per location.
So I think they just went too big, honestly, with this concept, and they sort of started with smaller underground facilities. But up until this point, everything is pretty understandable. So let's keep going and see what else they were supposed to be doing
Going to
here.
be spaces that we've never really explored before. A lot of the locations in the game tend to be quite residential, but here we're going for something completely industrial. As a player, you want to feel like an ant almost to the location. The primary purpose is not for you to be walking around, so we dedicated spaces towards logistics, and we put kind of personnel walkways almost as a secondary element. So in this image, you're kind of seeing where, you know, big trucks could kind of go, but we've also got like little nooks and crannies for the player to kind of explore and go into. Now, as it being a location dedicated towards the moving of logistics, we wanted to explore and have fun with vehicles, right? So here we're seeing the mule kind of coming and going on one of these walkways. You know, maybe there's elevators. So on the right, what we're seeing is a ladder. So with all of these play spaces, as we were having fun and visually exploring, we always kept in mind of different ways for the player to traverse through the scene. Also, as part of that, we wanted to think about verticality, so not just a linear direction of traversal, but also ways in which we could go vertically. So maybe there's the concept of a cargo elevator within the corridor. So kind of similar to how you'd see on a character be a little control room looking at the flight deck. Here you could kind of see.
Honestly, I haven't even seen low light scopes in the game yet, which I consider to be kind of a good thing. At least something's rare.
Very similar. Maybe this ties into gameplay puzzles about how you could bring cargo in and out. You know, maybe as a player you're trying to steal some cargo out. There's tons of potential for how we could do puzzles in that regard. So looking at this image, we took loads of inspiration from modern day aircraft carriers.
You know, I appreciate Ian Leyland because he's got great eye for art. But CIG putting the art director on presenting this kind of thing. I remember when we were going through this and people were like, tons of concept art. What the heck's going on? I was like, tons of concept art. I remember sitting at the computer and going through this. And then I think we got to the very end here and we were like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of like white box, gray box looking stuff. And this is eventually probably what became distribution centers. Except clearly not this part because they didn't bring this part in. But like this was still confidence building. And these things were in the works. But I think that they really do this guy dirty because
A corridor?
he is here to talk art. And he is here to create the art so that the game designers can fill it with stuff. But then they put him on this video to say things like, yeah, this is how we designed it and this is what could happen there and this is what how maybe you could move around these areas. And it just, I think it gives players the wrong impression. It kind of makes people think, oh, this guy, like they're working on the gameplay and they still don't have an idea of how it's going to work. And granted, they don't because it's in the concept phase, but the words he uses would be different from the words I think a designer would use. And CIG does this thing where they show us stuff super early. They don't do it anymore because of this very reason that we're doing right now. But they used to show us stuff super early and we would rip it apart and realize how different it is from what we actually got or wonder where it is because it's taking so long. And ultimately, I think that it adds to the anxiety surrounding the project. Concept art is nice, but they will not reflect the real deal. Right. So then I can take us to another video that showed up shortly after this. Because I do believe they were thinking the same thing. Around here somewhere. Was this it?
Okay, so let's get out of this Pisces.
This is about 5 months later. And it was our first look.
Now, as we go in, there
these
are
locations.
like I said before, there's lots of work in progress stuff. There's going to be things clipping in and out. Try to look past that and to what it is we're actually showing. It is still work in progress at the end of the day. So right now we're just dismounting in front of our lobby. If we're on a planet with no atmosphere, we've got these.
All right, we know this area. Let's skip ahead. Hey, Opius, good to see you in chat. Did manage to get the new motherboard and the computer is working, but then we ran into a capture card problem, so I got to get this exchanged. I actually need to get back on the tech help channel and respond. Thank you for the help there. But yeah, it looks like it was a motherboard issue, and now we just need to replace the graphic card and this capture card, and then a power supply, and we're good. Thanks for the help there, though. Here we go.
You know, things will be moving around and really the pedestrians want to be out of the way type of thing.
See, so the concept art was one thing, but getting to see this 5 months later was like, okay, they're moving with these locations.
Let's just have a look into the space itself. Everything's controlled by this kind of observation tower. For us, we're going to head downstairs. And we can do that quite quickly on these kind of smaller pedestrian elevators.
And the reason I think that they're going to use these locations still is because of this elevator. They can so easily split this up into its own instance or server if they want to, whenever you go down one of these elevators.
So away we go. Now the depth of the, the first sub-level is going to change in every UGF. No, that's going to be procedurally generated, a lot like the rooms as well.
Toes.
Oh, and the elevator's just kind of moving back up. Now you could take the cargo elevator down, that's fine, but that's going to be fully automated, whereas these pedestrian elevators are going to be more independent, and faster as well. So you can see that disappearing up to the top. So this is our bottom of the elevator room.
Lobu, thank you for the sub. I appreciate you. 6 months now. Been blowing up 2025, I see.
So again, nice big space, very functional. There's going to be, things loaded on and off. And then this gives us kind of access to the rooms, or the wings on either side, I should say. So as we release more content for this, you're going to get more expansive wings, different themes, that kind of thing. Now the doors here are a bit misaligned. Again, work in progress. And this is a security checkpoint. So hopefully you've got the right credentials. You're going to get checked, you're going to get scanned. But what if you haven't got those credentials? Well, there are alternate routes in.
I'll just kill them. It's cool.
Down here, you can see there's a little hatch, so maybe you're sneaking your way under the floor, or are you making your way over the top on piping? Multiple ways in. So again, we're in a bigger room now. In the white box, it's really good to just call out, yes, your alternate routes, yes, your main path, but also where can you get on and off of those?
I think this is a 3-year-old video, 2-year-old video.
What's rock, what's metal, what's a feature, what isn't. Because if we can call that out now, it means that we're giving people more information as they go into the next phase. Again, so this is just an example of maybe a rock room, which kind of just links 2 rooms together. Maybe there's some storage. Now, can I just jump over this? Because
right, you can see how there are similarities to this and what we have in game. So it would be interesting to know, did you guys scrap all this and repurpose the assets into just distribution centers? Or are you still planning on adding these underground areas connected to them?
Storage. Now, can I just jump over this? Because I forgot to put stairs in. Over to the other side. And these are kind of our biggest doorways, but I'm not going to go down this, but we're going to have smaller doors.
I'll show you what turned into the Area 18
into the space
locations from before.
In here, it's kind of like, well, where do these lead? We're going to have to wait for that, I'm afraid. So that one up there, that's where you'd kind of navigate to each room through the ceiling. So we're back in that big room from before. Now, when the rooms are this big, we can do a bit more with them. So there's an area out back here. There's, rooms and maybe even some control points. So what if this bridge, I know it's a little blurred over this chasm, what if you could retract that back and forth? What if it's not even there? How are you going to make your way across? That's not for me to decide, it's for you as the player when you're getting in and out to decide. But for the moment, we're just going to make our way through. Yeah, if you fall down there, you're probably going to die, so watch out for those kind of things. But there are still, hopefully you can find your way on these main routes. Some side rooms you could play, but then also, this bit's under construction now, but I wonder what it's going to be in the future. And, having all these spaces kind of to this level of detail, it's really rough, as you can see, but I'm walking around unhindered. I can step up and down. And then this is more of a hero room at the moment. This is like a warehouse. So this is Same level of detail as the rest that we've just walked through, but the lighting's had a bit of a better pass on it. We're midway through this white box process at the moment. Things can change still. You know, maybe the alternate route is where that guy in red is.
I don't think this is all non-interactive stuff. I think this kind of thing can very easily be turned into a dungeon that takes 20 minutes to get through. I mean, if you're fighting against forces in each one of these rooms and you have to figure out how to get these bridges open, how to get through these security checkpoints, this could be a stealth mission. I could see why this can be a whole... I don't think this is non-interactive. I think it's just non-interactive here. Because, like, it didn't exist yet.
It's down there, but if you fall down that one, you might end up breaking your legs. You know, all of these containers, maybe the straddle frames are moving things
He's
around.
talking crap about us falling.
Potentially, you could, if you're on a mission where you want to steal something, maybe it's in one of those containers. Hopefully a big, you know, working space, sandbox within a sandbox, you could say. What I do like about this room is that you've got these straddle frames, you know, why not get onto the top of them and get to the cabin? But also when you're in the depths of the room, it's kind of like you've got these big piles of crates. Maybe you're sneaking between them. Maybe you're rifling through the contents of one and then trying to get out. So there we go. That's where we're currently at. Like I said, we're midway through White Box. We've got a bit.
So I mean, these turned into distribution centers for sure. That was 2023. If we jump forward, how far? How far do we have to go for that? So that was 2023. And then did we have a CitizenCon that year? Yeah, we were at that CitizenCon. Come on now. And then they came back in Destination Adventure, and they introduced to us distribution centers. Same guy.
Box, so just keep that in mind. So, these distribution centers, what are they? Well, first off, they're the biggest location we have on the ground outside of landing zones. The reason why they're so big is intentional. We wanted them to accommodate as much world and mission-based gameplay as possible. Each location supports multiple landing pads and hangars, making them...
I only just realized the Corsair's turret right here, like pointed straight down.
accessible to as many players as possible at any one time.
What we just watched were underground facilities. What we're seeing now is distribution centers, what those became.
There's even a road network to support transit from the planet's surface, into the main building and to any berth ships.
Roads!
So every distribution center will be owned by a faction. You know, depending on the faction and where the distribution center is located on the planet will determine its specialism. Now, each specialism will lend itself to different missions and gameplay opportunities.
Specialism?
So let's talk about some factions for a moment. So, an example, distribution centers. They're likely to be more specialized towards military supply, research and development, or communications, you know, depending on which combat.
Who
Other
else?
Examples of hostile.
Yeah, so hostile gameplay, like this stuff exists there.
Grey Cat Industrial would be an example of a minor faction. So their distribution centers will be more specialized towards gathering resources, manufacturing, assembly, shipping. There would be a security presence here, but it won't be that as strong as a major faction.
I feel like we're really missing the ability to just go into one of these places and find missions there, like local missions, land there and like hear about hauling contracts that are originating from that location. I mean, that's content, right? That's the sort of PvE thing people are looking for. When people say, oh yeah, we want sandbox activities, I mean, even just as simple as these distribution centers offering missions or contracts or the ability to take on those tasks outside of missions or contracts would be freaking awesome. What we're missing is an existing economy that will drive the content. Yeah, and we haven't gotten to hear about that much. Wasn't there a time where it was sold as a single game? Squadron and Star Citizen were sold as one, and that changed shortly afterwards. I think in the very beginning, if you backed for Star Citizen, you'd automatically get access to Squadron 42. Squadron was like inside of Star Citizen. I know there are hauling missions that'll send you down there, but I mean going there and finding missions there.
Won't be ruling out hostile missions like corporate espionage. Some other friendly gameplay types. Cargo hauling, like I said, resource gathering and mining, maintenance of the location.
These are things that will eventually happen at these locations, I'm sure. But as of right now, not really. These are also the locations where they kind of started talking about the possibility of raids and treating these as kind of like dungeons.
Click on. So raids are team-based missions with a focus on high-risk, high-reward operations. As Carl mentioned previously, you'll be able to choose how you gain entry to these locations. Coming prepared and geared up will make the difference between success and failure. Ultimately, you'll need to work together in order to succeed. So these raids will have you breaching the interior of the main structure, highlighted here. Now, each interior will comprise of rooms that reflect the location's specialism. For example, a shipping focused distribution center will have rooms dedicated to the storage of cargo. Looking to the future, we're planning on having distribution centers with subterranean levels that will be accessed from this interior space. These will expand upon and increase the difficulty of these raids. Now let's take a look at one of these raid missions in action, but please note that this is
Bro, this Cutlass would have been shot down already. This is what we already do. It's a super simplified version. It'd be nice if it wasn't on contract and it was something you could just do at these facilities naturally. But we basically already do this. That's great aim. Ooh, remember that thing? Remember we were supposed to rob stuff? See, dude, give us some super valuable stuff to steal from these locations. Oh, I mean, well, if you look at the approach this raid, I only said that they would get blown up because they're getting shot at right here. Like, if they were getting shot at there, they would have been done for. What happened to the cart? I don't know. Probably the person working on it had to go back to Squadron.
And away we go!
Thank you.
So, as you saw in the video, the team took a more aggressive.
See, but like
In
this stuff
next
is
video,
missing.
We show you how using the track to be an attachment can open up new paths to your objective, but it's up to you to decide what path you can create with what is available. Let's watch the video.
We sort of lost this whole possibility because they just didn't really they didn't work on it. This did look like a cool little platforming experiment, though. Maybe someday. So yeah, that's distribution centers. Somebody had asked about the R-Corp facilities. I'll show you what became the R-Corp stuff. That's another fun journey back in time. Right here.
This week, it's another Journey to 4.0 special, where we jump farther ahead and take a look at work scheduled to make its Persistent Universe debut in the upcoming 4.x branch of release. And this...
Yeah, distribution centers are super underutilized. You were doing a DC, landed on the roof, went down, mission done. Back to the upper area, but now you were trespassing and shot by the guards. Yeah, that stuff needs to be improved for sure. Wasn't there a time at the very beginning where they were same game? Yeah, I had answered that. I answered you on YouTube about that, Tachyon. They were sold together. All right, here's what happened to the R-Corp stuff, or really where the R-Corp stuff came from.
So build interiors is something we've always wanted to do, you know, because of, you know, we've had cities in the game for a while. We have many cities, we have many buildings. Therefore, we could have many interiors. It's a perfect opportunity to put in a lot of play space. Now, with the players flying around these buildings, they've been largely urban landscapes,
no problem, Tech.
fairly uninteractable. You know, we've done a few landing pads to get the players in and out there, but really the real good stuff was on the inside. So up until now, we've been on the outside wondering about the inside, and today we're going to talk about the inside.
Wondering about the outside. Wait, what? I didn't know you actually said that. Yeah. Hope some of this stuff is put back in. Keep in mind, it's not that it got taken out. It just hasn't been done yet. Look, it's on the release view. Building interiors, it's right here. Gameplay focused layouts to fill the interiors of various buildings and landing zones and other points of interest. And that's separate from the utility tunnels of the R-Corp stuff. This is just, I think, how they're developing the interiors going forward. They're starting it with location-specific stuff rather than across the whole game, like this implied.
All right, so we're building interiors. The way in which we approach the concept development, now this was just a pure blue sky ideation phase, and the idea was to create inspirational material to use that as a content to inspire conversations, to find out what do we want to do for the game, what is cool for the game, and use that as the initial springboard for the conversation. So what we'll be looking through here is...
Man. Young me, huh? Young little me back then just really did not fully grasp what that meant. Just how much this was truly just a springboard for ideas. Oh, man. Hindsight, though.
A presentation of blue sky ideation, primarily used as a springboard to start conversations with Chris, with the design director, and the game director, to understand what do we want to put in the game, what could be cool for the game, and we use that as that initial inspiration point. So when we're talking about building interiors, how could we start to break that down? So right off the bat on the top, it's the rooftop spaces. So these would
All right,
be...
we're going to skip all this and go straight to the underground. We'll come back to some of this other stuff, but specifically when it comes to what we are seeing with RCorp, I believe it all starts here.
Now, finally, we're going to talk about...
I should be recording this. Might as well. Okay. Kind of jumping into this in the middle of the talk, but we're looking at an old building interiors video from, what is this, 2023. And just kind of hitting on the development path coming from these concepts that they were talking about. And we actually just went through this at the beginning of the video where he basically tells us, hey, this is all about us just getting ideas.
To use that as a content to inspire conversations, to find out what do we want to do for the game, what is cool for the game, and use that as the initial springboard for the conversation. So what would...
So I took that initial springboard back then, and I was the gymnast who was springboarding over the pole vault and like flipping head over heels, freaking twisting angles all over the place. They were still springboarding up to like the running start. Hindsight. We like to get ahead of ourselves, but we do see on the roadmap that building interiors are still a thing, as we just covered. You guys are all getting deja vu in the live stream. And we know that RCorp is getting an update. So I figured we look at where this idea came from, and then we look at the RCorp stuff, because this will be probably our first truly instanced PvE-focused locations. They don't have to be PvE, but these will be locations that, much like our hangars, once you enter, somebody else can't come in behind you and ruin your day. So I think a lot of people are going to be excited for these, but it's worth seeing the history of how they got here.
Be looking through here is...
And we're talking about the underground.
Now, finally, we're going to talk about the underground. Now, this is, I think, one of the coolest spaces. So rather than just focusing on the positive axis of the building, we're going to look at the underground. Now, what this does, it means we can access a whole area of play space that doesn't need to be contained inside the building. So within a lobby...
Honestly, imagine if they could start... if they didn't have to instance all of them and some of them could just be servers. I mean, there's a lot they could do. Contested zones aren't instanced. They're just separated by an elevator. They could have so many of these underground facilities that are not necessarily split off from the game, but they are... There's a lot of friction in getting to them to make them still part of the open world, part of that open economy and interaction, but not quite open to everybody to just snipe you from far away. Talking like cave stuff, sewers, all the goods.
We want the player to start to traverse down into these spaces, and these could be underground transit networks. They could be abandoned underground transit networks. This then could drive potential racing opportunities. So when we was doing this, we thought, oh, it'd be really cool. Like, what would it look like if there's an underground street race going on there?
With our hover quads, or our hover vehicles, I don't know if that's safe.
Also, there could be traversal opportunities. Like I said before, if the player wanted to go into one building, down, and then through, and then up into another building, what would that traversal network be like? Especially if we're thinking about if it's an older part of the underground of a city, maybe it's less used, you know, people have built up, that would instantly inspire.
Dude, this basically became like, look at this. This is a sewer system in what I think anybody would assume is RCorp, given the 4 planets we have access to. Maybe you could say this is Loreville, but nah.
By a whole bunch of traversal and investigation missions there. Or maybe there's an old aqueduct or an old infrastructure underground. You know, this could be perfect for underground street racing or other racing opportunities. So in a nutshell, what we looked at is a blue sky investigation.
All right. So that was the underground stuff. To be honest, there's some really interesting other stuff in here. They talk about like buying apartments
in a way in which we could
being able to live in the city. I honestly think that this would be a good alternative to people who don't want to do base building. Maybe you don't want to live on a space station. You should be able to choose probably one of several mediums in this game, right? Nomad, you're just living out in the wild, living off a spaceship, living on a space station, living in an outpost, living in a city. And these concepts for living in a city are really cool because you start to think about the view you could have looking out at the city and seeing ships flying around and stuff.
Create a variety of combinations. So whether it's living spaces or habitation spaces or social spaces. And also here we're looking at, we want the players to eventually be able to populate the player-owned habitations that you see.
This would also be super easy to monetize. Just sell people apartments, whatever.
Here, like a first indication of how, you know, the sort of dressing styles that you'd be able to do. Outside of something that's fairly utilitarian, we also want to do something that could be fairly high-end. So here we're just exploring some ideas about what a space could feel like on a different architectural style, and more generous windows, you know.
They could at least sell the
interior
furniture,
spaces
right?
dedicated to more than just habitation. And these would be focused on other landing zones. So imagine you come across these in Area 18, or it could be when we come to Terra. And also, like I said, it could be informing future player-owned habitation architectural sets. Now, outside of the living quarters, there's also the social spaces just outside. And we want these to be more than just the corridors that we're seeing in the game right now. So these could be
Bro, this is an apartment straight out of Deus Ex. Love what I'm
layered social spaces. And these could also inform...
That's Adam. He's right there.
Advanced traversal routes for the player to be able to get inside these habitation rooms. So as we're talking through various architectural styles...
there was a whole bunch in this about different segments, whether that be commercial, where you could find like office buildings and stuff in the inside, maintenance locations where you could maybe go in and do some hacking or run some maintenance repair missions. They talked about rooftops with landing pads and different things that you could interact with in those areas. All of these, I don't know to what extent they still want to do. All I know is they still have it on the 1.0 plan. But I think everything on the 1.0 plan is slightly scaled down from what we've been seeing over the last several years. So some restraint, I think, in our setting our expectations for this, but we can sort of get some idea of what it might look like by looking at the new ArcCorp facility, the Undercity. Honestly, a little bit of a surprise. I think something that they needed to slip in somewhere because they know people can see. I think they recognize the panic people have about how dangerous Star Citizen can be. And so they took this panel called Beyond Pyro, which was all about star systems coming up, and they just kind of slipped in a segment about ArcCorp because they really wanted to make sure, hey guys, we're definitely not forgetting you guys who want to have that cut off content. Also, ArcCorp is really boring and like doesn't have much ground locations, so they need to throw something in there. And so this is, I guess, what they're going for. Oh, we're gonna do a whole looky look on this one. Astro Pub, what's up, Paul? You talking about CIG's to-do list? Are we ever not? That's every day. It's always what's next. Honestly, if they've marked something off of the to-do list, is anybody really interested in it anymore? As much as you want an apartment, getting all the main gameplay and group play in first is most important. Yeah, but what if your main gameplay is cooking banger meals at your Skyline apartment? I mean, that's the most important thing. That's squadron gameplay even. One thing you'd really love to see is setting up your character backstory during character creation. Has a slight impact on the story you go through. Oh, I bet we'll get that. They seem like the bunch who likes to have you do that kind of stuff. Just give me a Titan suit, CIG, stop talking about everything else. Cut everything else out. Titan suits and Squadron 42 and server meshing, and then we're done. We're good. Everything's good. Just need server meshing and Titan suits. Can you play this video, please? Oh, cool. Yeah, this was totally like, everybody just kind of was looking at this and being like, okay, what exactly is this? I think we all were thinking building interiors, but we weren't sure how. Most of us were probably just seeing rain and kind of our minds were going numb. Rain and ArcCorp. Hey, there's more
Now, speaking of gameplay in landing zones, let's leave Levski for now. And let's jump to Rainy Arkop, which is missing the most gameplay spaces right now. So we're continuing the Building Interior initiative. We're adding additional districts to landing zones, which are gameplay focused. These gameplay areas will interweave with the landing zone, but ultimately will be independent. So for Area 18, let me introduce you to the Municipal Works. And this will be split into 2 locations. The actual Municipal Works, which will be an open world sandbox area for all players, and the lower Municipal Works, known locally as the Depths, which will comprise of several instanced levels. So, how do I get to the Municipal Works? The Municipal Works is accessible in multiple places in Area 18.
If you have to ask, then you don't belong there. See that dumpster? You just climb in there. Go do it. Go do it. Joke's on you, it's not an entrance. We got you to climb into a dumpster. Sorry. That'd be funny.
Some will be available to everyone, and some you'll need to unlock with mission progression. As an example, here's a map of Area 18 Central. And as I said, there'll be various access points throughout the landing zone, and some will be easier to access than others. These access points will lead to transit systems, taking you deep into the underbelly, eventually reaching the Municipal Works. And the Municipal Works will have spaces like...
Pub, did you name your Redeemer the Dumpster? Is that because it dumps on everyone else because it's such a good ship and it just destroys?
Maintenance, filtration, and the sewer network. Which is what we're seeing here. It's a very exotic place. So down here, it's an open world sandbox for you and other players, very similar to contested zones in pyro stations.
Immediately just triggers so many people with that. Contested zones have... This is before we had contested zones in the game. They carry such a strong connotation to them now. I think in general, his point being was that they're not instanced, but they are free for all interaction. I don't think he meant that they are specifically focused on everybody shooting each other. It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter because it'll be assumed until they get him into the game. Really, nothing they say about this is going to matter until we get to see with our own eyes how it plays. And I don't know. I mean, we got to see how it plays. Because, yes, it is a sandbox area between the city center and the supposed instanced locations. Is that a bad idea? Can people still intercept you before you get to the instance? Yeah. Are they going to do anything to make that not such a bad possibility? I don't know. There are a lot of ways that they could minimize that. But it is interesting having this sandbox area that has instances shooting off of it. That sounds like a pretty typical way to make stuff like this happen, but Star Citizen is suffering from a couple different complications that make sandbox locations not exactly all that safe compared to what they're supposed to be. Just consider if you were a criminal, we are literally underneath Area 18 here. So if you did do something to attack other players or do something criminal related, you're going to have a tough time getting out anyways. But we'll see.
It's an area to do local missions like exploration, repair, or even pest control. But the main purpose is provide access to the depths. And these will be instanced areas. So, what is an instance area? Well, an instance area works in the same way as an instanced hangar. And as the name says, it's a separate space for you and your group, But why do we...
There's that word again, exploration. I'm sorry, I missed it. What did he say?
But the main purpose is provide access to the depths. And these will be instanced areas.
Oh, it was before.
So, what is an instance area? Well, an instance area works in the same way as an instanced hangar.
Y'all get real
And as
offended
the
by
name
the E word,
says,
eh?
It's a separate space
A
for
is an E
you
word.
and your group. But why do we want to do this?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's on the screen. It's on the screen.
This gives us the ability to create tailored missions that will provide a mixture of content like combat or exploration or puzzle gameplay, and fundamentally allows us to design challenging, meaningful content.
Meaning! Let's go. I need some meaning. Really. Give me purpose.
All right, so let me illustrate.
I'm not joking, guys. I want purpose in this game.
Going over here. How the depths will be split by levels. Now, stay with me on this. We're going to rattle through it quick. So let's say you're in level B01. You're running a mission, you're having a great time with the curated content I just mentioned. But down here, you'll have to do a variety of content over a period of time and over multiple play sessions. At the end of the mission, you'll find an access point, which will bring you back to the landing zone.
So this is basically what they were talking about with the underground stuff from building interiors. They're just instancing off a part of it. You're still going to have the sandbox area that you can explore and look through. And then you'll have these packaged areas that you'll be completely cut off from everyone else when you want to go and do God knows what in its own environment.
And you'll do this loop multiple times with different mission content. After achieving the required amount of progression, your access level will be upgraded. So this time, you head down the access point elevator, and now it takes you all the way down to level B02, and you continue on with your journey. Now this is your new area with different mission content, new rewards, and a new access point back to the LZ. The same as B01, you'll do this loop multiple times. And you guessed it, eventually you'll get access to level B03, and we continue deeper. With each level you unlock, you access new areas for new mission loops. You'll access new, more challenging curated content and access better and better rewards.
So the question that comes up with instance content like this then is the repeatability of it. For sandbox locations, a lot of different things can happen because they're more open to the rest of the world. But I feel like both of these locations will benefit equally from loot being changed out, NPCs maybe being shuffled around a little bit, and different equipment and tools that you can bring along with you. But how repeatable will these be? I'm really interested in knowing. We don't know much about what this kind of thing would look like. This is different even from contested zones. If you're not killing giant mutant rats, you'll be very disappointed. NPC randomization, these are dungeons, right? And dungeons generally will just trade out the loot to give you another reason to go back and try it again. Hopefully difficulty will scale with the number of people in the group. For an instance, that would make sense.
And this is what will form progression-based content.
Progression meaning.
So as I just described, was a very condensed version of an actual play sessions, but this still describes the unique gameplay experience. Landing zone areas which will offer long-term gameplay progression.
This is actually, that is a nice focus, because one of the things we've talked about on this channel has been that there aren't enough things to do in a planet or in a planet's area. So you're constantly jumping back and forth between planets. And that should take a while. Like, quantum traveling across a star system should take some time. It's just that CIG needs to give us enough stuff in an area that we're not constantly doing that. And this kind of starts to move us towards that. We see a little bit of the local missions that they're doing in Pyro. This hopefully would give you hours worth of content in a single city, so you don't even have to leave the planet. And if they keep adding things like this every year, then we start to have less and less reason to leave the planets, and hopefully that would continue. But until we see this, I guess we don't know how deep this is actually going to go.
So that concludes this section on gameplay spaces for Landing Zone. We're excited to show you more.
We're excited to see more someday. All right, so that was a look at building interiors, where they've gone, and how they have influenced the underground facilities that we will see in ArcWarp sometime soon, TM. They're on the 1.0 release view. I think we heard about them maybe once in a monthly report at some point, but we really haven't heard. This is like, it's not even going to be a thing they really bring up this year. This is a long-term look out into the future, folks. But a look out in the future nonetheless. Sounds kind of boring. It will. It will to some. It'd be like that. It's mostly hangar ship, maybe a bunker, an outpost. Yeah. That's why they're starting to do more of these local missions around outposts and bring in more locations that hopefully we actually find and are interested in looking at, instead of just like flying from place to place to do stuff. Post 1.0, they will probably add individual traits like psychic powers. God. Lord, forgive us. Forgive Catch-Up Gamer. He is tempting fate. All right, what else we have to go over today? Oh, the stealth gameplay. That's right. Stealth. I think I lost that video clip, actually. No, I did not. Cool. Stuff to do during quantum travel alongside slower quantum travel. Stuff to do during quantum, yeah. Prepare your ship. Check logistics. I'm hoping like we'll have some apps on our Mobi where we can track market pricing or look at the heat maps for the system and what cargo, what trade routes are hot, where crimes are taking place, stuff like that. Planning out the rest of the game point. Play dice. What's the play Gwent? Base Gwent? Star Gwent? Shower, eat and drink, catch a quick nap. That would be interesting if you could nap while you're in quantum and get a little buff. Engineering, yeah. Repairing your ship and checking up on the ammo counts and all that kind of stuff. Hop into your sim pod and do some Arena Commander. Oh, Trout already said it. Push-ups. There you go. There we freaking go. It's the push-ups and the sit-ups. That's what I want to do. Oh my god. All right. Let's talk about the new Prowler, folks. The Asperia Prowler utility, stealth and style. We got stealth to talk about today. I think stealth could actually be a cool part of this game. It's been a little bit underutilized, not incredibly well explained just yet. And it's not set up to the point where I think people are using it strategically as we should. That being said, I've got a little bit of an update here from Star Citizen Live from a couple years ago. I think one of the most recent updates we've had on how stealth is imagined to work. So we're going to touch on this, but first I want to look at the Prowler's Q&A, because I do imagine they have something in there about stealth and whatnot. What makes this stealthy? It's got proven stealth capabilities. There you go. The answer to what to do in between sessions is catch up on lore. Go watch some Astropub, guys. Duh. Don't you want to know about how the Messer's children betrayed them so that they created the fall of their whole empire and brought on a new age for human history? Light freaking reading, guys. Now, where's that FAQ? I like how, who was it? I don't remember who it was on the stage. One of the lore guys. I think it was Nate. Dave Haddock. I think he was on the lore stage, and he's like, "You guys probably know more about the lore than I do." Oh man. Need to add lore posts, and yeah, some of the stuff that you explore would be cool to check up on those audio docs as you're flying through Quantum. All right, one of the Asperia Prowler's key strengths is its stealth. Can we expect similar low signature performance from the utility variant? They said, currently the base Prowler is slightly stealthier than the utility due to its military application. The utility's larger physical footprint and additional external features like winglets and cargo doors result in a slightly higher signature. That said, while the original dropship variant of the Asperia Prowler remains a top performer in terms of stealth, the utility variant still boasts a strong stealth profile. It may be slightly less effective, but it remains more than capable of discreetly moving valuable cargo across the verse. Let us see if they talk any more deeply about the stealth features. Combination of stealth and cargo functionality, designed with stealth in mind. High-risk zones like jump towns, settlements, and pyro, or smuggling runs, the integrated tractor beam and large cargo doors let the co-pilot assist with cargo collection mid-flight, enabling quick getaways without having to land. Somebody's still got to get out of the ship and spawn the goods to pick up. Like, hell yeah, we're going to stop at this pyro outpost and pick up these goods real quick. Don't worry, we don't have to get out of the ship. You stop and hover, and you're like, okay, pick up the boxes. What boxes? Am I getting one? Bro. What? No. Absolutely not. The chances of me getting a ship when it comes out for this game are like less than 1%. I really am not. Okay, maybe 1%. Maybe 1 every 100 ships. I might buy one. I'm not buying ships for this game. It's unnecessary. As we say in Turkey, gerek yok. So the information we get here about stealth is not incredibly telling. They're mostly just telling us that it is made for stealth, and that it's got a rare blend of stealth capabilities, aggressive aesthetic, operate under the radar. Mainly, it sounds like it's just signatures, but we do have a pretty in-depth explanation here of a few minutes of the devs telling us kind of what they have in mind for stealth gameplay, at least, that I'm going to get into in a second here. You've been told point blank by the writers that you likely know more than any one of the writers because it's collaborative work. I get that. It's kind of like how CIG devs will reach out and be like, hey, I heard this in your video. I didn't know that was happening in the game because it's happening 5 time zones away in a completely different segment of the company. Just has all stealth components, including grade A power plants. So what I want to see here is it all just stealth components, or is there anything else to a stealthy ship for you guys? Got a C1 when it first came out. I actually melted something else for the C1. Can't remember what it was. I think it was possibly a Cutlass Black. So I did throw $10 in on top of that to get the C1, but I'm not just gonna like buy a ship. I guess that's buying a ship. The C1 was my 1%. Prowler's cross section is still 10 clicks overhead, so it isn't stealth. I mean, that's not to say it isn't stealth. They could just balance the rest of the game to be 10 clicks is a really stealthy capability. But honestly, why don't we listen to what the devs say here? And maybe that'll help an understanding. Come on now. Are we gonna do that again?
I wanted to shout them out because they had it right on there. I lost your name, I'm sorry, but somebody was talking about how basically, for modularity as an example, there's the feature team that would work on the feature of build them in, how that reflects to the player. So there's this nice little pipeline there between features are the things that everybody
Hold on, I think we
can sort of work with.
I think I lost the
content
spot.
team build them into the ship, and then you guys come in and and make it an experience for the players.
Garrett's doing a moment.
Ruka Ribby.
Yeah, why the heck am I at 15 minutes in? Okay, back to the actual video that is going to tell us a little bit more about stealth gameplay in the game. I don't know how the heck I got so off time there.
And for the content team, not the gameplay team. Continuing on with the preset questions. Stealth.
Was that the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stealth. Anything?
I'm going to go stealth right now by going really quiet.
Success.
Yeah. So we kind of see, like personally, I see stealth as a ship that is, its main ability is to mask itself, so you can hide and you can be sneaky, So it's got that more kind of tactics to it, where you can use the environment to hide, and you can move your resources of the ship to kind of manage that. So you can kind of control how much you're seen in the universe. So you can plan something, whether it's plan to sneak up on someone or just plan to attack someone, and that's how I see stealth in the game. And it's going to become really it's going to be a really critical resource network, because that's going to give you really good control over how kind of stealthy you go, because you can be able to take it much further than you can now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, on the resource network thing, there's already talks of like how heat and cooling can influence stealth and emissions, because essentially with ships, the emissions is going to be really what the stealth is, I guess. So if you can hide, I guess there's two kinds of versions of stealth. You're either not there, or people think you're not there, or people think you're something else. So you could have like emissions that pretend you're some casual cargo hauler, but you're actually a fleet of Idrises, and just try and pretend that you're not for a while.
A casual cargo hauler or a fleet of Idrises? That's a big cargo hauler.
There's stories of stealth fighters who because of the way the stealth fighters emissions profile is set up, when they get hit by a radar signature and it deflects off all the different faces of the plane, and then it comes back and the radar sees it as that's like a pigeon. That's nothing to worry about. And then suddenly the pigeon turns into a stealth aircraft for 2 seconds because it's opened its bay doors, and then closes it again and go, that pigeon turned into a plane for a bit. Maybe we should shoot something at it. So something like that. You can have the two different versions of we hide it completely, clamp the emissions completely so you can't be seen in a big radius, or you can just blare out noise and obscure whatever you want. And so with resource network, if you have if that gets tied into heat and stuff, you can have coolers that are blaring out loads of IR, for example. They could pretend to be something else. And then if you want to go the other route, and then
I think that's where something like the Terrapin is going to be really beneficial, because the Terrapin can actually close up its venting and hold the heat inside. I don't know how effective it is right now, but I imagine they'll make that kind of a nice little benefit of that ship.
Hide all of those emissions, turn all your coolers off or like have some kind of thermal shielding around it. And then you just slowly cook in your ship because it's heating up. Because that heat's supposed to go somewhere. That's what the emission is normally. And if it's not emitting heat, I guess you're just gonna steam slowly.
And as Sten Gun asks, as a follow-up, why is that pigeon going Mach 5?
Yeah,
I was wondering, Sting. I was hoping one of you would say it so I didn't have to be the jerk.
It's a very powerful pigeon.
It's not a very good radar operator on that particular ship. That pigeon's going Mach 5. That's one very impressive pigeon.
Why has that pigeon launched a missile at us?
No. And how does the invisibility bug factor into all that?
It's very stealthy. But it's not the right kind of stealth. It's like that old bug we had where all the players could turn into golf balls. Technically.
Oh, I'd forgotten about the golf ball.
Yeah.
Jeez, that was a while ago.
That was difficult to fix.
Has that invisibility bug still going on?
I'm not sure.
I know it's not on our teams.
No. But the last I heard, I think someone made some progress on fixing one of the many ways that it can happen. So maybe
that's what's really annoying. It was the same thing with the golf ball bug.
Yeah,
There wasn't just one cause. It was actually a myriad of causes.
Yeah.
And so, finding every cause, you find one cause and it actually obscures 3 other causes.
Yeah.
So it's,
That's what bug fixing on complicated situations can be sometimes. You just get, you fix one bug to make it work correctly, and then it turns out working correctly broke 8 other things.
I just know it's very frustrating. But
yes.
The level of frustrating conversations I've seen internally about that bug over the last several weeks have been. Yeah. I can't imagine it's any better for the players. But, folks are working on it. It's the best I can offer.
Okay, I think that's the end of that question. I was trying to see if they were done. So there it is. It's all about emissions and signatures. And masking those emissions. So that does leave a question about the cross-section then. Is that actually going to spoil a stealth ship? It'll be interesting to see how they handle that. Because they're going to have to make them so that you can get close. And obviously, this kind of works out in certain situations when you have a physical obstruction, like a gas cloud or clouds or anything else like that. But it makes it harder to get close enough when you don't have that. What about cross-section? I think we should blend with the environment if we hug the ground. Right, they didn't really talk about that. Determined by physical size, shape, overall dimensions. Larger vehicles naturally have higher cross-sections, making them easier to detect on radar, regardless of their EM or IR. Additionally, some chassis have modifiers to simulate radar-absorbent coatings, particularly on stealth ships. Oh, wait a second. Some chassis have modifiers to simulate radar-absorbent coatings, particularly on stealth ships. That might be what they do. Once they actually do the scanning stuff, they might have modifiers for stealth ships that make their cross-section not matter as much. Probably where they're going to go with it. Interesting that they don't mention it anywhere, though. Just one little line on the back of this page that you literally can't find unless you know what to search for on Google. That's indicative of Star Citizen information. So, besides these sort of coatings that might be on ships, for all we know, that could be something that you just get in the game too. I don't know. I think that they'll probably do some stuff to make ships particularly stealthy, but it sounds like it's all going to be based mainly around our scanning and our emissions, which you can learn all about right here in this guide. This gives a lot of information about this ER, or EM, IR, which isn't even mentioned in the signature section. So, they got to give us a bit of a deep dive, a little bit of a plan layout to what they want to do with scanning. But it does sound like from the monthly reports, this is stuff that's going to come up sooner than later, especially with the resource network also coming in. They mentioned that as being pretty important. So there's your update on stealth. Yay. Hide behind mounds. Knew it was a thing, just didn't know where you'd read that before. I don't remember reading that. It's also mentioned in the description for the Saber comment or the stealthy F7C. I see. I see. Oh, man. Any other questions today? I do have something that I'm going to go over, but want to make sure we hit everything that you all wanted to talk about today. You just want a landed ship stealth, personally. Yeah, if you just land your ship and turn it off, you shouldn't be detectable. Unless somebody has like a really good radar and they're specifically aiming right at you with their scanner, I think you should be pretty much unable to be found in that case. For things like the Connie or the TAC, does it show the ship in storage? What do you mean? I mean, if you spawn it at a place, does it show the ship spawned at that place? What do I think of the possibility of getting the stealth FPS armor soon per the sneak peek? I don't know if it'll have actual stealth features equipped with it. I don't know if they really talked about what those features might be. Ugh. Wish it was easier for their actual channel to pop up. Let's see.
Owl creature.
If the wearer has all pieces equipped, so that's helmet, core, arms, and legs, due to its mass and the suit's material, their missions will run so low that they will be undetectable on radar.
So this probably won't be a thing until we have the FPS scanner in game. But I don't see why. I mean, if they are able to get the FPS scanner in game and they have it detecting certain things, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to have this armor have this effect. But they're only showing us the helmet so far. This is a light stealth armor. They haven't really talked too much about that. But they did do a sneak peek on it, so it's probably coming in 4.2. I don't think it will have stealth effects when they drop it.
And the suit's material, their missions will run so low that they will be undetectable on radar. With it being light armor, it also has a great level of mobility and traversal speeds, meaning should the wearer be spotted, they can quickly escape or reposition with ease. And remember, with it being light armor, no flight restrictions. So with the best stealth and fantastic speed, it's a must for any players looking to assassinate, infiltrate, or in this case, be a sniper.
How does scope glint remove stealth in FPS? You can still be a stealthy person with scope glint. Hell, I've been a stealthy person after headshotting folks in Halo. They still can't find me.
However, the protection provided is minimal. You don't want to be engaging in a full-on firefight in this suit. And just to reiterate, folks, as well, like great specialized armors like this one and all the ones that you've seen today, you're going to have to put the work in to have these at your disposal.
The helmet that we saw in the sneak peek was this one. It was the one with this armor set, I'm pretty sure. It actually reminds me of one of the Halo helmets. If you land near hills and terrain, you can see ambient signature go up. Currently not enough to do anything. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Maybe they'll boost that up so that it makes a difference. Hey, good speed. Hello, how's it going? Good to see you. Thank you for dropping the super chat in the chat over on YouTube. Thank you. I think that's our first thing on YouTube today. That's the helmet from Halo that looks kind of like that. The security helmet, is that what I'm thinking of? Gonna be like ships makes no sense not to go stealthy. It will be pretty cool to have more emissions mechanics in the FPS gameplay. I wonder when they'll have it though, man. It's the monthly reports have been so confusing this year. They're so substantial, but every month it feels like there's another substantial thing, and I'm like, okay, this must go to testing in the next couple months, right? And then a couple months later, there's something else substantial being added. Okay, next time for sure now. The last update we got here with the scanning was the devs can now specify if contracts should remain visible for extended periods after they have been first scanned, which is useful to the designers in curated situations. Additionally, they can now reduce the signature of a contact if it's considered dead, which is the biggest form of stealth. Be dead. You think there should be more noise for ship scans closer to the planet's surface? There should probably be more noise in the game in general, huh? Just like fill space with noise a little bit. Let us have some butter to cut through. Stealth is an enemy. You want to be lit up like a Roman candle. I don't wear the armor or carry the guns for that. I'm more the hang back and light up other people like Roman candles kind of person. Give me a hook and a jetpack. Stop trying to sell ships that make no sense, since there's already ships in game that make that function better. Potentially overdose with a med pen to pass out and be stealthy. Yeah, see? There you go. Lower that heart rate. That's how you sneak up on the predator. Okay. I wanted to touch on a game. We checked out Spacecraft by Shiro Games earlier this year when they released their reveal trailer. And it looks like it's getting some views again now. They just released a gameplay trailer, not on their own channel, but they did release a dev blog here. So what we're going to do is check out the new trailer they released for this game, and then we're going to check out the dev blog. This is an interesting one because it kind of combines very fun genres, that being the builder genre and the space genre. It's sort of like a Space Engineers, but I think it looks a little bit more approachable and a little more focused on logistics rather than just building. I've heard it described as what's it called? Satisfactory, which is something we talk about quite a bit. Combined with, I don't know, something like No Man's Sky or even Dyson Sphere Project kind of thing. I see. No, they did release it. It's the same thing, right? This is not the trailer. It's the overview trailer. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Cool. The dev blog is the trailer. Let's check this out and see if we'll be interested.
Welcome, pioneers, to our very first look at the development build of Spacecraft. We're really excited to show you where the game's at right now and give you a feel for some of the systems we're building behind the scenes. Keep in mind, everything you're about to see is work in progress and doesn't yet fully reflect what we envision for the game at launch. In this dev blog, we're focusing on the tutorial, which gives you your first taste of how the game plays and introduces some of the core systems. Your journey starts on Babylon 7, a space station
I get X4 vibes from it already.
Owned by the company. Stations like this are central to the game. They're where you'll refine resources, trade goods, upgrade your ships, and more. In the tutorial, Babylon 7 is a solo instance, but in the full game, stations will be important multiplayer hubs for interaction and cooperation. We've designed piloting to be intuitive, built around two key concepts, flight path and flight speed.
So this is an interesting one. This actually reminds me of what's it called? No Man's Sky a bit, in that you just kind of fly to a planet, which is cool. I mean, we'll have to see how that sort of factors into just flying around normally, and if that's a little jarring. Remy, thank you for the super chat. Almost finished Star Wars Outlaws, and there's a lot of stealth and exploration gameplay inside of it. I still have to get to Star Wars Outlaws, man. I've had it for such a long time, but just never been able to really run it yet. Star Alpha, do you think every game that gets covered outside of Star Citizen is an ad? Or do you have a specific reason for thinking this would be an ad? Man, I wish companies paid me to look at their video. Actually, no, I don't. Yeah. No, that'd be cool. Just give us the Elite Dangerous landing screen pop-up when we get near the ground with our landing gear down. I will slam into planets if there's no automatic slowdown system in this. Best believe that.
Your ship moves based on the direction you're facing, and you can smoothly throttle up or down to manage your speed. At its core, Spacecraft is an expansive, open-ended sim where you can explore, build, trade, and fight across the living galaxy. You'll pilot your own ship, mine resources, craft parts, and design your own vessels. From setting up automated production chains to engaging in tactical space combat, how you play is up to you. You can play solo or team up with others to shape the economy, grow powerful corporations.
This is what always brought me to Star Citizen. It's not ugly. And it sounds really shallow. I'm sorry to say I'm a sucker for good graphics. And some game companies really know that. That's not to say that I'm not going to play games that don't have good graphics. It's just, it's eye-catching. It gets your attention, and I think it's easier to get immersed in a game with good graphics. Tell me about it. I don't know. I think this looks like a really cool game from what I've seen. I mean, we looked into this earlier in the year, and it sounded like it was going to be a really fun game. But ultimately, not as pretty as I'd like. But that's besides the point. Dang, Remy! Wonder, do you think, or have you any evidence that one day PlanetSide will have that kind of immersion inside Star Citizen? Love your content, by the way. Live in FWI, so I'm French, Afro-Caribbean, and watch all your content. Love replay. Hey, man. Thank you for dropping by the stream. Thanks for the support, too. Glad you enjoy the content and the chat and just being here. I think PlanetSide is going to have amazing immersion in Star Citizen, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the best space games for PlanetSide content, ironically. You want space to be great, but they did a good job with the planets so far. They need to fill it with stuff. But the actual planets themselves are pretty beautiful. All SC fans love shiny things. Shiny and fast things, yeah.
And leave your mark on a newly forming galaxy. And yes, traveling from space down to a planet's surface is completely seamless. Exploring planets means heading to landmarks and scanning for resources. As you find new materials, they're logged automatically on the planetary map. Find something unfamiliar, scan it to analyze and reveal what it is.
Let's see. Reach level 1 in exploration. Discover the planet by visiting landmarks and identifying resources. Scan 1 out of 3 unknown resources. Exploration. Scanning and finding resources, eh? Is that why the M50's in a lot of promo images? M50's ugly to me. Not gonna lie. It looks kind of cool, but yeah. Spore. Oh my gosh. There's a throwback. One of the potentially best games of all time. Just got absolutely butchered.
Resource gathering starts simple with a mining laser, but quickly branches out. Different materials need different tools. Some, like hardened shells, have to be broken up with missiles. liquids and gases require specialized harvesters, volatile resources can explode if they get too hot, so you might need cooling systems to handle them safely. For certain materials, you'll need to land and go on foot, adding variety and risk to how you gather resources. Eventually, you'll automate this process. That's when things start scaling up. You'll build bases on different planets, install extractors, and set up drones and cargo ships to handle mining, refining, and transportation.
Yeah, see, this sounds a lot like Dyson Sphere project, which is a cool, like, kind of up, top, down look on the same sort of idea. It's just, I think, smaller scale. But it gives me vibes of that combined with X4, a little bit of No Man's Sky. This could actually be a fantastic sort of exploration, find and do things game. But it also sounds really logistics heavy.
You manage power, storage, housing, and supply chains, building out entire networks that stretch across the galaxy. If you're the kind of player who loves optimization, there's a lot to dig into, and you can do that as a corporation with your friends for extra help. Back at the stations like Babylon 7, you'll navigate between areas using elevators. Each zone serves a different purpose. Some, like the shipyard, are private, perfect for refining resources, crafting advanced components, or working on your ship without distractions. Others, like the docks, are instanced by ship traffic. We're also building shared spaces, like marketplaces, where you'll trade with the company and other players. Some stations will also have unique zones tied to quests or introduce new mechanics entirely. Ship editing is a major feature too. You can customize and upgrade your ship by swapping out modules or go even deeper with the assembly system, letting you physically reshape your vessel. Add new engines, wings, or blocks, and tweak performance to suit your playstyle. As you progress, you'll unlock the ability to build entirely new ships from scratch, with every part affecting how your ship handles, how fast it goes, and how much it can do. That's just a glimpse of what we've got in store for Spacecraft. We'll be back with more updates soon, diving deeper into the game and how all these systems come together at scale.
Interstellar travel. Well done, I guess. I just jumped to a new star system. Well done, I guess. Yeah, it looks kind of like Space Engineers with some building mixed in. To be honest, he said they were going over the tutorial here, but I think it would have been good to go over just the general loop, because we get the idea that you're going to be creating things, going places, finding resources, but it wasn't entirely clear how much of this would be done outside of the ship. Am I staying in the ship the entire time that I'm outside of space stations? And then, oh, no, never mind. Right here, you're on foot. That was the only part on foot. And I'd love to see more of what you can do when you're on foot. I imagine you're building bases and gathering resources and just kind of maintaining stuff. But is this just a sandbox to build in? Or is there more to it? This is the first look. Well, actually, this is the second look. The first look was the reveal trailer, so this is our first real detail going into the game. But I do want to cover it as it comes about. We'll be keeping up with this the same way we're keeping up with First Project, Jump Ship, Osiris Reborn. There's a few others. Outer Worlds 2, I definitely want to cover. So definitely a couple things to keep an eye on. This is yet another one. We'll see if you're interested. You're not convinced? I'm not either, but I will be keeping an eye on it. You're playing Dyson Sphere right now. It's awesome once you get stuff around the sun. I haven't gotten that far in that game. The way they describe it sounds a lot like Spreadsheet Manager Space Building. Space Engineers mixed with Satisfactory. Do I play Dune? I do not. I don't really play anything at the moment. Once I do, though, I plan on getting back into Jump Ship, to be honest. I'm hoping I can play some of that on Wednesday, maybe. On stream with a couple of the guys from the garden. Big fan of any entry into the space game, but you're a sucker for graphics, too. Hope Star Citizen one day gets to a point where they can take advantage of the environment they built. Yeah, every space game coming into the space is a good one. That's 100%. I'm happy to see more and more, like, we're eating quite well. The future looks good for people who like spaceships in gaming. And I think that only encourages other developers to start doing space RPGs and action adventure games If Osiris Reborn does good, expect to see more AAA games take place in space. And if we do get a second Starfield, hopefully they hit it off a little bit better with that one. Dune sounds like it's got potential. People sound like they're loving it. I'll try and jump in at some point this summer, but I haven't quite gotten around to it yet. You see every new space game as a potential enemy. See it as a new friend, a new potential friend. Honestly, if Star Citizen is not good enough to maintain its own space against these other space games coming in, then maybe they need to improve, right? Competition is sweet. Anyways, that's it for me today, guys. Thanks everybody for coming to the show. Good old Mondays. We should have a microphone, or we should have a capture card replacement by Wednesday, so we'll be able to play games again. And I'm hoping I can get this fixed so that my sound comes back to being normal, because I'm sure you all have noticed the microphone is just not sounding like it normally does. It ain't really XLR style right now. Talus, sorry you missed. See you on Wednesday, though. Cage, see you on Wednesday. Huh? Come on now. It's going to be even more fun then. Trust me. All right, folks, I'm going to drop you off with Mr. Pupperton. But hey, y'all, over on YouTube, you know, if you feel like it, consider checking out the latest video I dropped today. I know some may think it's a negative video when you see the thumbnail. I promise it is not. It is just talking about what we all kind of predicted with this year, that they were going to focus on content and playability. And because of that, the feature development slowed down, which is leaving people wanting features again, because certain things are really obviously needing that feature development. The inventory mainly being that one thing. So maybe, you know, check it out. Give it a watch, possibly a like, share it with your popes. Share it with the Pope. And I appreciate you. Thanks you all for being here. Thanks for being cool. You're great people. You deserve good things. Eat something good today. Please eat something. It's just, I say that all the time because it's just so great to have good food, you know, something you love. The growing problem video. Yes. Something like that, yes. I don't know if I call it growing problem. Definitely, but yeah, there's a problem. Problem in the year. Eat something you love, do something you love. Go find somebody you love and hug them, give them a hug, tell them good things. And tell yourself good things. You deserve to hear it. See y'all on the next one on Wednesday. Bye-bye, everybody.